Chapter 26. Greetings, Gods of Destruction. Louis touched his nose and recognized the Gods of Destruction and Angel at the scene. Only. There are 11 other people next to them, their dimensions are not high, the highest is only the Yama dimension. The dimension is not high, but the aura they exude is extremely strong. These 11 people must be the candidate Gods of Destruction from other universes. Etc. Louis suddenly saw a familiar figure among these candidate Gods of Destruction. Toppo. In the super anime, Toppo is the captain of the 11th Universe Pride team. He faced Vegeta in the Tournament of Power, and in the end, both of them were eliminated. Unexpectedly, he had already been accepted by Vermit as a candidate Gods of Destruction. Only a dozen years have passed, and he has made it this far. He must be very talented. What's the point of having a strong talent for dimensional cultivation? Don't you realize that his power is very... Wait, there's an aura of destruction coming from him. He learned to break the rules. The 8th Universe Gods of Destruction, Jilye, said, this kid's talent is terrifying. No wonder Beerus accepted him as a candidate for Gods of Destruction. Universe Gods of Destruction, Jin said in disbelief, it's terrifying. In just over 10 years, he was able to cultivate his dimension to the level of a god, and even comprehend the rules of destruction. Kompa shook his head frantically. We guessed wrong. I told you, how could Skinny Ribs make fun of the Gods of Destruction candidate? The other Gods of Destruction had the same shocked look on their faces. As for Angel, they were even more shocked. Look at Louis. Louis exudes a faint aura, which the Gods of Destruction may not notice at first, but this is an angel-level realm. How could the angels not notice it? The state of freedom. How old is the 7th Universe's candidate Gods of Destruction? At most, he's around 20 years old. This kid must have started practicing since he was in his mother's womb. No, practicing in the mother's womb only takes 1 more year. This kid is so scary. How is it? Didn't you just tell me to ask Louis to come over? How does he feel about my heir? Beerus placed his hand on Louis' shoulder, looked at the gods in front of him, and laughed. In fact, Beerus was very confused as to how Louis suddenly broke through to the god dimension. But now is not the time to ask. When he saw the disbelieving expressions on these guys' faces, all the depression he had felt over the years disappeared. I feel very comfortable. Don't be so complacent. Don't think that your heir is so talented that he can win this competition. Quitella looked at Beerus and Louis, his face was gloomy. Beerus has a grudge against him and is stronger than him. It can be said that he is the person that many Gods of Destruction most want to see the fall of the 7th Universe. All along, the development of the 7th Universe has been getting worse and worse, and it is very likely to be destroyed by Xeno at any time. He is really happy. But I didn't expect it. I see signs of the 7th Universe's resurrection in this kid in front of me. Yes, in this competition, it's not about who has better talent. It also depends on real strength. Vermit patted Toppo beside him. Toppo, step forward. Boom. The smell of destruction rose into the sky, the ground exploded, and the forest disappeared. So strong. His rule-breaking skills are so strong, he's a tough opponent. The candidate Gods of Destruction spoke up one after another. The earth was shaking more and more, and in the next second it would disintegrate under Toppo's destructive aura. Louis stayed beside Beerus the whole time, watching Toppo destroying the earth with an expressionless face. Boy, you're looking for death. Beerus's face was darker than an ink fountain. The earth is the gourmet planet that he found with great difficulty. Anyone who dares to destroy his earth is his enemy. Beerus exuded a murderous aura and disappeared in an instant. Toppo, who was beside Vermit, suddenly felt that he couldn't breathe smoothly, as if he was being stared at by a prehistoric beast. The destructive aura on him suddenly dissipated. Stop! Vermit was shocked. What happened to Beerus? Why did he do it himself? He quickly took action, flashed in front of Toppo, tensed his muscles, and clenched his fists with all his strength. Rush forward! At the same time, a purple fist appeared in the void and collided with Vermit's fist. Boom! Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The earth exploded instantly, and the northern Milky Way was dented in a star field. All the angels stepped up to protect their own substitute Gods of Destruction, and Whis also pretended to protect Louis. In the starry sky of universe. Beerus, are you crazy? In was stunned. The Gods of Destruction cannot fight each other. Beerus, Do you want to be wiped out by Lord Zeno? Herace shouted. All the gods of destruction stood up and accused Beerus, but no one dared to take action. Even Kampa only dared to speak out because he knew Beerus was angry. At this time, Vermit and Beerus separated and retreated to Tobo's side. Beerus, you want to fight, then I'll grant you that. Vermit's words were tough, but his hands were shaking as he and Beerus collided. Tobo's pupils shrank behind him, and he noticed this. He looked up and looked closely at Beerus. The gods of destruction from the 7th universe is so powerful that even Lord Vermit can't withstand his punch. The other candidates for God of destruction also showed disbelief. It turned out that there were differences between the gods of destruction themselves. Without looking at the gods, Beerus turned around and said, Whis, restore the earth. Yes. Whis waved his staff, and time went back 2 minutes. The Earth star field returned to its previous undamaged state. Louis raised the corner of his mouth slightly and watched the show from the side. If you want to mock, just mock. Why destroy the Earth? Isn't this courting death? But this Beerus is really strong. Boy, I'll let you go this time. Beerus looked at Topo behind Vermit, and then said coldly, I warn you, if anyone dares to destroy my Earth, I will kill you. The candidate gods of destruction shuddered, there was such a strong killing intent. Topo's back was already wet with sweat, and he was obviously frightened. Stop talking nonsense, are you ready, skinny ribs? Get ready to start sparring. At this time, Kampa stood up. He was the only one who dared to stand up when Beerus was angry. After all, he is Beerus's brother. What's the hurry? Beerus put away his cold face and turned into a playful one as if what just happened had never happened. Louis, tell me, when do you want to fight them? Let's wait a few days. After all, the gods of destruction have come all the way to the 7th universe, so we need to let everyone rest first. Louis finally spoke. The gods of destruction all smiled, and Jin taunted, Beerus, look at your heir, how considerate he is of others, and then look at yourself. Tisk, if you're upset with me, come and fight me. Beerus said, and he and Whis then disappeared, leaving Louis alone here to accompany the gods. I'm so pd off. After all these years, this skinny guy is still so arrogant. Damn it, it looks like I'm going to kill Beerus. Kill him? Do you have the strength to do so? Listening to the complaints of the gods of destruction, Louis laughed and said, My lords of destruction, please follow me. Louis took to the sky. The gods of destruction looked at each other, then followed. The other substitute gods of destruction followed closely. They kept looking at Louis who was flying in front. This kid had a terrifying talent. However, talent does not mean strength, and they are still very confident in this competition. Then you can still mock those skinny guys. Thinking of this, the gods of destruction following Louis felt very happy. The angels flew at the end. I didn't expect that the candidate gods of destruction of the 7th universe would have such high talent. Yes, that young man named Louis, he seems to have realized the perfect state of freedom. No wonder Beerus would accept that young man as a candidate for gods of destruction. The 7th universe is about to rise. The angels said one after another. At this time, Vados suddenly frowned and said, Sister, have you found the tall tower in the middle of the forest? In the forests of northern Earth lies a tower that reaches high into the sky. The angels were shocked, they also noticed the tower, it was very old. And there are many mysterious marks engraved on it. All the angels looked at Kes. Kes said solemnly, I saw it. The tower is very old. I can't recognize its origin. This planet is not simple. As soon as these words came out, all the angels were stunned. Even their eldest sister couldn't recognize this tower. Let these little guys finish their fight first, then we'll ask Whis. Kes's eyebrows knitted together, ask him where the sacred aura came from, and ask him if he knows the tower on this planet. Chapter 27. Louis was unaware of the angel shock, and he asked his sister-in-law Bulma to arrange accommodation for the gods. With Beerus' previous warning, the gods of destruction and the alternate gods of destruction did not dare to mess around on Earth. Beerus was very satisfied with the performance of the gods. After this, Beerus and Whis finally approached Louis to ask about his breakthrough into the god dimension. Louis said that he had cultivated the dimension to the King Kai bottleneck a long time ago, and just by chance he broke through. Beerus and the other two were speechless, they knew Louis was special, but this kid was also really talented. Over the years, Lewis has not focused on strength training. Instead, he will focus on cultivating the dimension. Whis and Beerus saw it all. Although Lewis' strength is a little weaker for the time being, he can always improve it by practicing as long as he spends time. But the dimension is different. Some people have practiced for millions of years, but in the end they are still just a small Yama dimension or Kyo dimension. It is really difficult to break through and become a true god. Next. The gods of destruction spent 2 quiet days on Earth. Kampa couldn't stand it, he came here just to taunt Beerus. As a result, we had to wait 2 days before we could start the competition. There is no excuse, it is not easy to mock Beerus directly. So Kampa asked Vados to take out his favorite food, bird eggs. Taunting the 7th universe, there must be nothing so delicious. Beerus thought it was some delicacy at first, until he took a bite and couldn't help but sneer back. Say what rubbish this is. Beerus waved his hand and asked Whis to bring the instant noodles over. Angel, gods of destruction, and alternate gods of destruction, each was given a bucket of instant noodles. What the hell? Beerus, what is this? It's so delicious. Every noodle and every mouthful of soup is so delicious. Beerus, I've finished eating, is there any more? Kampa huddled aside eating instant noodles and didn't dare to say anything. A few days passed. The gods have been so immersed in the delicacies of the earth that they almost forgot about the competition. Taiza's backyard. Quitella looked at the gods of destruction who were eating ice cream, pudding, desserts, etc., and said loudly, "Okay, have you all forgotten why we came here? What are we doing here? It seems he is here to spar with Beerus's heir." Boom! The 10 gods of destruction reacted instantly. Kampa walked up to Beerus, pointed at his nose and yelled, "Beerus, you're tempting us with delicious food. Do you think you can just get away with it? No way." Horace took a bite of the pudding and showed an expression of enjoyment. "Beerus, you really went too far." Rumsshi drank a glass of cold beer and burped, "Luckily the dead rat reminded us, otherwise we would have forgotten it." "Remove it." The gods of destruction criticized Beerus. Beerus rolled his eyes and said, "You forgot about it and you blame me, right? Stop talking nonsense and start the competition today." "Humph. I gave you some good food because I was in a good mood, but now you pick up the bowl to eat meat and put down your chopsticks to curse your mother, right? Who is afraid of whom? His Lewis is already invincible. If he wants to be ridiculed so much, then come on. Whis, get Lewis over here." "Yes." With Whis's contact, Lewis appeared here instantly. "Lord Beerus, what's wrong? They are eager to be ridiculed, let's get started, don't delay." "No problem, but I want 2 people to come over and see the battle of the candidate gods of destruction level." Lewis asked Whis to find where Vegeta and Son Goku were, but Whis said that Vegeta had left the Earth with Son Goku, Raditz, and Nappa. "What? Where are they going?" "The direction they're heading seems to be towards Namek." Lewis was dumbfounded. "What's going on? Piccolo is not dead, the gods are not dead, so why would they go to Namek?" It turns out that Vegeta has been dating Bulma for the 3 years since he came to Earth. Vegeta knew that Bulma's sister was in contact with the Galactic Patrolman Jack, so he contacted the Galactic Patrol headquarters through ties. King Vegeta, who was far away at the Galactic headquarters, finally got news of his son, and he sent a message to Vegeta. Frieza discovered the legend of the Namek Dragon Ball, and Frieza is heading to Namek. If Frieza gets the Dragon Ball, Saiyan is finished. So, King Vegeta led all the young Saiyans to attack. More than 1,500 Saiyans attacked Namek. For a moment, the 7th universe was in complete uproar. One is the Universe Emperor Frieza, and the other is the Rising Star Saiyan clan. The 2 major forces are about to collide. After Vegeta learned this information, he immediately took Son Goku and others away from the Earth. After Whis's narration, Lewis knew the whole story. The blood in his body suddenly began to boil. The Saiyan clan is going to fight Frieza. It's exciting just thinking about it. He really wanted to go see the show, but he couldn't leave. "Lewis, what are you thinking about?" Beerus said. "Lord Beerus, let's get started. I have to go to Namek after the fight." Lewis tried to hold back his excitement. Beerus nodded and looked at Whis. "Whis, set up the void battlefield." Whis smiled and said, "Big sis, please help me." In the corner of the yard, KS slowly put down the ice cream in her hand and flew into the air with Whis. Coming to a void, the two of them waved their staffs at the same time. Buzz! Two colorful streams of light emerged from the staff and penetrated into the void. The void was instantly transformed into a battlefield of 100,000 square meters. The angels, gods of destruction, and substitute gods of destruction on the ground all flew into the battlefield. Louis was the last one to step onto the battlefield, and the outside of the battlefield froze instantly. The fifth universe gods of destruction Arak said, "How do you want to spar this time?" Vermit, the 11th universe gods of destruction, said, "It doesn't matter how you want to fight, just leave Louis to me, the 11th universe." The sixth group of universe gods of destruction Kampa was furious, "What are you thinking? Louis can only leave the sixth universe to me." The gods of destruction were talking to each other, and everyone wanted to fight Louis. After all, Louis hasn't grown up yet, and defeating him will allow him to taunt Beerus severely. Otherwise, when Louis grows up and wants to compete with him again, it will be too late. "Stop, stop, stop, my lords, why don't you let your heirs come along?" Louis really didn't have time to waste here. He just wanted to end this farce quickly so that he could rush to Namek. As soon as these words were spoken, the 11 candidate gods of destruction became angry. "How shameless! Don't think you are great just because you are talented. Can you beat any of the substitute gods of destruction here? Do you really think you are the real gods of destruction? Exactly. Your strength isn't good enough yet. How come you've learned Master Beerus's arrogance so quickly? Beerus! Want to hit someone?" Quitella flew over, came to Louis, patted him on the chest, and said coldly, "Boy, you are so arrogant." Beerus's personality had always annoyed him, and it turned out that this kid's personality was exactly the same as Beerus. Louis narrowed his eyes, "Master Quitella, what's the matter? Do you have a problem with me?" Louis' tone was calm, but to Quitella's ears it sounded provocative. The gods of destruction looked at Louis with a joking look on their faces. What a bold boy! Isn't he afraid that Quitella will kill him? Beerus nodded. He didn't think there was anything wrong with Louis. Even if there was, he thought it was a great job. Quitella hated him, so he naturally had no good feelings towards Quitella. "Boy, do you know who you're talking to?" A murderous aura emanated from Quitella's body, and the alternate gods of destruction present trembled violently. "Lord Beerus, please let them come together, I'm in a hurry." Louis turned his head and ignored Quitella. "You?" Quitella was furious. He was ignored by a piece of trash? Raise your hand and condense a destructive energy. Buzz. The atmosphere of the void battlefield was instantly disrupted. "Quitella, you passed." Beerus instantly appeared behind Louis, face to face with Quitella, his face devoid of any emotion. "Passed?" Vermit, who was watching the show, twitched his mouth. "A few days ago, Topo from his universe damaged the Earth a little bit, and you wanted to kill Topo. Didn't this pass? Even if you protect your own child, you won't do that." The gods present were also speechless. "Humph, since he wants to die, I will help him." Quitella put his hand away, turned his face to look at his universe's candidate gods of destruction, and said, "Troy, you and the other universe's candidate gods of destruction will attack together and kill that guy for me." "Yes." Fourth universe candidate gods of destruction Troy nodded. The other candidate gods of destruction looked at their own gods of destruction and saw them nod as well. Then all the candidates for gods of destruction flew into the air. Seeing this, all the angels were stunned by the scene. Vados glanced at the Whis and asked in confusion, "Whis, is your candidate gods of destruction crazy?" The other angels were equally confused. Didn't Louis think that he was invincible just because he had achieved the state of perfect freedom? Dare to challenge Quitella, and dare to challenge 11 alternate gods of destruction at the same time. Either stupid or crazy. Faced with the questioning of his brothers and sisters, Whis just smiled and said nothing. Kes seemed to be thinking about something, and tilted her head and asked, "Could it be that he is fearless?" Apart from being crazy, this was the only possibility she could think of. "Are you confident?" The fourth universe angel Conic laughed, "This kid is very talented, and has broken through to the divine level, but he is still far from being as strong as before. How can he be so confident?" Vados and other angels also think so. "Well, you will know if you keep reading." Whis laughed. Louis's peculiarity cannot be hidden, it will eventually be known to everyone. Might as well take this opportunity to let everyone know about this. What's more, Even the Grand Priest knows about this and asked him to train Lewis well, so there will definitely not be any problem. Chapter 28. The Sky. 1v11. Lewis looked at the other 11 people indifferently. Toppo was the one he was most familiar with. Toppo is strong. Being able to tie with Vegeta in Deep Blue state in the anime is definitely not something that ordinary people can resist. As for the other candidates for Gods of Destruction, he had never seen or heard of them. Lewis didn't know which one was the strongest among them, but no matter which candidate God of Destruction it was, he couldn't defeat it with his current strength. There is no doubt about this. Boy, you are crazy. Troy frowned. He was recruited by Quitella as a candidate Gods of Destruction more than 10 years ago, in order to defeat the candidate Gods of Destruction of the 7th universe one day in the future. Now we are finally meeting. What? Being crazy is against the law. Lewis' mouth corners raised slightly. You are really too arrogant. You will cry later. What gave you the courage to challenge all 11 of us at the same time? The candidates for Gods of Destruction all shook their heads. Lewis was fearless and said, "Stop talking nonsense and get ready to start. Since you want to die early, I will grant your wish." Troy saw Quitella in the distance giving him a look. The other candidate Gods of Destruction are ready for battle. At this time, besieging is not a just act. It goes against my principles. Go ahead. Toppo shook his head and flew away. Cut. What are you pretending for? Don't worry about him, let's go. The competition began, and the atmosphere in the void battlefield suddenly became solemn. The 10 candidate Gods of Destruction suddenly turned into purple light and cut through the void. An overwhelming aura of destruction came towards Lewis. In the distance, Gods of Destruction Jin shook his head, "This guy is dead. I don't know how he dared to fight 11 alone." Quitella laughed, "Beerus, your people are so stupid." Rumsshi was non-committal, "He is a little stupid, but he has great talent and his courage is commendable. I wish he was from my universe." Beerus looked at Rumsshi and flew into a rage, "You damn elephant, where are your people? What are you thinking about? Do you deserve it? You skinny cat, are you looking for death?" Rumsshi was furious. He hated it most when people called him a dead elephant. "Want to fight? Sure." Beerus walked towards Rumsshi, his eyes extremely cold. Rumsshi was startled and quickly shut up. It would be fine if he joined others to fight Beerus, but he was unwilling to face Beerus alone no matter what. Sudden. "Okay, let's get started." Hearing this voice, the Gods of Destruction looked into the void in the distance. Crash! Crash! 10 purple rays of light flew towards Lewis. See this? Although Lewis knew he would not be hurt, the thought of being beaten up by 10 substitute Gods of Destruction gave him chills. It's not my character to surrender without a fight. Lewis clenched his fists and mobilized the strength in his body. Boom! 1.5 billion combat forces exploded in an instant, and the aura that erupted suddenly turned into gold. Lewis' hair is one blonde and one black. Keep flashing. Boom! The heaven and earth are shaking. Super Saiyan. Combat power, 75 billion combat power. Normally, his combat power is 75 billion, but Lewis broke through to the level of a god a few days ago, and his power was transformed into the power of a god. With his current strength, it is no longer possible to measure it by combat effectiveness. According to Lewis' current power has not reached the first level of the god realm, but not far off. The overwhelming gust of air rushed in all directions, and the 10 substitute Gods of Destruction that were attacking Lewis stopped. What? What a powerful force! No wonder he dared to challenge 11 of us at once. Humph, but that's not enough. This power is still far from the first level of the God realm. Superior. Troy led the charge, followed closely by the other alternate Gods of Destruction. The sky was suddenly covered with purple light. Troy appeared in front of Lewis, the second level of power of the realm of God gathered in his hand, and punched out. Lewis raised his hand to block. What a powerful force! Lewis felt no pain, but the powerful impact threw him sideways. As soon as they met, Lewis showed signs of defeat. Toppo on the side frowned. Is this the candidate Gods of Destruction of the 7th universe? Doesn't he want to fight 1 against 11? Can't you withstand just one punch? When the Gods of Destruction in the distance saw this, they all covered their stomachs and began to mock. Ha ha ha, Beerus, what the hell is this universe of yours? You thought you were awesome just because you dyed your hair blonde, but you can't even take a punch from Troy. How funny. You really thought you were a master of the 5th level of the divine realm. It turns out you are such a noob. Your stubborn personality is exactly like yours, Beerus. Why did he choose to learn your stubborn personality when he could learn anything else? This kid is really wasting such a top-notch talent. Listening to the taunts of a group of gods of destruction, Beerus' face turned slightly hot. His plan was not to let Lewis defeat the other candidate gods of destruction, but to let Lewis hold out until the end of the battle. No one can kill Lewis. This way, he could taunt back. A group of gods of destruction candidates at the 2nd level of the god realm were unable to defeat a little guy who didn't even have the power to reach the god realm in a group fight. Beerus knew that anything he said at this point would be a weak rebuttal, so he just quietly waited for the final result. Once the results came out, it was time for him to speak. Seeing Beerus remain silent, the gods of destruction mocked him even more fiercely. Different from the reactions of the gods of destruction, the angels were stunned when they saw Lewis being hit by a punch. You, young man universe, are able to remain unscathed from Troy's full-strength attack. It must be fake. Facing the questioning of his brothers and sisters, Whis simply said, "You will know soon." The angels then realized that the young man named Lewis was really fearless. What a rubbish! How dare you pretend to be so arrogant? After Troy hit Lewis, he folded his arms, hovered in the air and laughed wildly. Lewis was hit so hard that his gods of destruction costume burst instantly, and he was thrown far away. The other gods of destruction candidates flashed their bodies. They followed the orders of their own gods of destruction and would not let Lewis go easily. They all chased after him. Each person condenses a destructive energy bomb. The world is eclipsed. This is not a competition at all. It's a matter of life and death. Boy, let you go crazy. Go to hell. The substitute gods of destruction threw their weapons with all their might, and 10 destructive energy bombs flew towards Lewis with endless power. Overwhelming. Lewis was thrown onto the barrier of the void battlefield, was blocked, and looked at the destructive energy that was coming. When I break through to the realm of God, I will kill you. Lewis gritted his teeth. He closed his eyes. The golden aura on his body suddenly disappeared. The gods of destruction in the distance thought Lewis had given up and were considering whether to ask their heir to stop. After all, this is Beerus' heir. It would be terrible if Lewis was really killed. Only Quitella looked crazy. He didn't care if Beerus got angry or not. It is really that Lewis is too talented. If he is really allowed to grow up, his 4th universe will be suppressed by the 7th universe. No. He has a grudge against Beerus and must kill Lewis. He gave Troy a look. Sudden. In the distance, after the golden aura on Lewis disappeared, his hair turned back to black. But the next moment, an ethereal aura emerged from Lewis, and a silver light shot up into the sky. With Lewis as the center, silver airwaves rolled. The state of perfect freedom. Boom. The powerful force is like thousands of horses galloping, the magnetic field is disordered, and the space is distorted. The entire void battlefield was covered by silver airwaves, like a vast ocean. Lewis also dodged the 10 destructive energies by moving according to his heart. This scene fell into the eyes of the gods of destruction, and those who were originally mocking Beerus now fell silent. A second passed. The gods of destruction were furious. Impossible. The realm of freedom. How could this kid be in the realm of freedom? Beerus, tell me, is this fake? All gods of destruction fell into a world of shock. So scary. You have to know that the state of freedom is an angel-level state, which is difficult to comprehend. It can be said that almost no one present can comprehend it. Even if there is, it can only be possible with the strongest gods of destruction Beerus. But what the gods of destruction don't know is that Beerus has not yet realized this state of mind. He was still a little bit away from touching the rudiments of the state of freedom. Ha ha ha. Beerus laughed happily. It was hard not to be happy when these guys, who had mocked him for more than 10 years, looked so happy. So what? Are you still mocking me for taking in a little brat as a candidate gods of destruction? Don't be complacent. As I said before, talent is nothing. Only strength is real strength. Quitella gritted his teeth, he felt so sad. Even he hasn't realized the realm of freedom, but this kid can lead Goten to the realm of level. This kind of top talent is really enviable. How nice it would be if I were his heir. At this point Quitella had forgotten how he had taunted Beerus before. Yes, even if you have the state of freedom, so what? Compa clenched his fist. Is there any candidate for gods of destruction here who doesn't have the power of the second level of the god realm? 1 against 10, there is no way you can win even if you are at the level of freedom. Physical strength is his biggest problem. Go ahead, beat that guy down for me. Herace and other gods of destruction shouted. If Lewis really held on, they wouldn't be able to taunt Beerus, but would be taunted back instead. 11 versus 10, and still no one won in the end. Given Beerus's personality, he would definitely keep talking about this. What a shame. After hearing the orders from the gods of destruction, the stunned candidate gods of destruction unleashed all their strength at once. Boom! The void battlefield shook like a landslide, as if it was the end of the world, and the purple light that erupted was extremely dazzling. Fortunately, the void battlefield was created by Angel, so it did not shake the earth at all. 10 purple rays of light streaked across the sky and came towards him. Lewis twisted his body and pounced on them. He had even withstood Whis' full strength attack, so why would he be afraid of these 10 guys with the second level of divine power? Lewis quickly entangled with the silver light. Bang! Bang! The powerful force stirred the air, and a violent hurricane suddenly arose. A punch and a kick. Lewis, relying on his free form, naturally weaved between the 10 substitute gods of destruction, giving them a blow from time to time. This is hard for the candidate gods of destruction to accept. Is the state of freedom really that powerful? He can actually fight 1 against 10. Still able to remain unscathed under siege. The gods of destruction were shocked, but the angels' expressions began to change. Then all the angels widened their eyes and turned to look at Whis. Whis touched his nose. Why are you looking at me like that? Kes said solemnly, Whis, can this Lewis ignore the damage? The angels also stared at Whis. They knew long ago that Lewis would be in the state of freedom, and a perfect state of freedom, so they were not surprised when Lewis entered this state. But the moment Lewis fought back, they realized something was wrong. Lewis did not perfectly dodge the attacks of the substitute gods of destruction by relying on his state of freedom, but was able to ignore the attacks when he was attacked. Haha, didn't you see it? Why are you still asking me? Whis smiled faintly. Boom. Real. It can really ignore attacks. The angels swallowed their saliva. They didn't believe it and quickly turned their heads to look at the battle in the distance. Chapter 29. What the hell is ignoring attacks? Is there really anyone in the world who can do this? But the scene before them told them that there really were people who could do this. The angels widened their eyes. The battle continues. Relying on his perfect state of freedom, Lewis dodged the attacks of the candidate gods of destruction one by one like a loach. Even if you don't dodge them, just ignore their attacks. The alternate gods of destruction soon discovered this and were shocked. Their attacks on Lewis did not cause any damage. Time passes by every second. In the end, Lewis' physical strength was still a problem, and it was too difficult to fight 1 against 10 people. Lewis' physical strength is simply not enough to maintain a free state for a long time. Once he loses his free state, he won't even be qualified to resist the substitute. Ha ha ha, he's exhausted, let him go. The 4th universe substitute gods of destruction Troy laughed. It's so frustrating. He hit the guy with great difficulty, but the guy was not hurt at all. Beerus must have given this guy some trump card. No wonder he dared to fight 10 people alone. The other candidates had the same idea as Troy. Apart from this, they really couldn't think of any other possibilities. Wait until he runs out of energy, and see how he ignores our attacks later. Superior. The alternate gods of destruction roared towards Lewis. Lewis was hovering in the void, he really had no strength left. It's so frustrating. Lewis glanced at Beerus in the distance. Damn, in order to save his face, he has to be beaten up by others for a while. Hateful. Never mind. No more resistance. Destroy it. Really tired. Lewis gave up resistance and allowed the attacks of the other candidate gods of destruction to hit him. When the gods of destruction candidates saw this, they were overjoyed and their power exploded even more violently. Boom. Boom. Lewis' figure was completely covered by smoke. Just when these 10 candidate gods of destruction thought they could kill Lewis. Inside the thick smoke. Their attacks hit Lewis, and a faint white light appeared on Lewis' body. Immunity immune to all negative influences. Louis' clothes were blown to pieces, but he was fine. Far away. Ready, ready. Louis' figure was shrouded in smoke. Beerus saw this and started to mock back at the top of his voice. Beerus's appearance stunned the gods of destruction. Kampa frowned and said, "Skinny ribs, your disciples are dead, aren't you sad at all?" Ninth Universe Gods of Destruction Sidra curled her lips and said, "Beerus, are you crazy? Didn't you see that all your disciples are dead?" 10th Universe Gods of Destruction Vermit shook his head, "So, it's better not to be too arrogant. It's a pity to waste such a talented genius." The other gods of destruction jeered. Especially Quitella, he laughed extremely loudly. He and Beerus have always had a feud, and it would be great to see the heir of his enemy die. However, the thick smoke in the sky began to dissipate, and a figure slowly emerged. Quitella's laughter stopped abruptly, and it was Beerus' turn to laugh. "How is this possible?" Quitella's pupils shrank sharply. Universe Gods of Destruction Jin pointed to the sky and said in disbelief, "Beerus, how come he is not dead?" "Ha ha ha." Beerus laughed loudly, looking at the group of gods of destruction and said, no way, there are still 10 people fighting together and still can't beat others." The eyes of the gods of destruction were all filled with shock. The attacks of the 10 gods of destruction candidates all hit Louis, but he was not hurt at all. How is that possible? "Beerus, what happened to your people? Why are they fine?" Quitella said coldly, "Did you do this?" Beerus walked up to Quitella, poked his chest, and sneered, "UBD, can't you see whether I am playing tricks or not?" Glancing at the angels in the distance, he continued, "Even if you have poor eyesight and can't see it, can't your serving angels see it?" Turning around, Beerus put his face into Quitella's and laughed, "You don't think 10 people together can defeat my heir?" After being ridiculed for more than 10 years, this time he ridiculed back fiercely, it felt so good. "You!" Quitella clenched his fists, his chest filled with anger, but before he could say anything, Beerus walked up to Gods of Destruction in. "You stupid hairball, you want to mock me? Are you qualified?" "Furball." In pointed at himself, furious, "Beerus, you die." In was glowing purple, and destructive energy filled the entire sky. Beerus curled his lips and waved his hand, and the destructive energy in the sky disappeared instantly. Ignoring In, he came to Kampa again and patted him on the face, "You fat pig, your heir is not that good either." Taunt one after another. Beerus walked in front of Gods of Destruction Vermit, "Your alternate gods of destruction. Never mind, if he doesn't do anything, he won't taunt you." "Ha ha ha. I am dying of laughter. What a bunch of losers. They have been preparing for more than 10 years, just to make fun of me. Ha ha ha, in my eyes, you are just a joke." Beerus held his stomach and laughed out loud, "Do you see my vision? What a bunch of ignorant idiots. It makes me laugh to death. Put your face in front of me and I'll hit you. There are actually such weird people in the world, and there are 11 of them. Ha 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 ha." Beerus kept laughing, and the faces of the gods of destruction were getting redder and redder. Because what Beerus said was right, they had been preparing for more than 10 years just to defeat the 7th Universe's substitute gods of destruction today. Then taunt Beerus harshly. Who would have thought that Louis was so amazing that he could withstand attacks from 10 gods of destruction candidates with the 2nd level of power in the realm of gods without being harmed? What a shame! At this moment, the 11 gods of destruction wished they could find a hole in the ground to crawl into. They just hope that their heir can defeat Louis in the ensuing brawl. Can. No matter how you attack, there is no effect. Louis was able to completely ignore the attack and took no damage at all. What the hell is this? Half a day passed. The alternate gods of destruction have been attacking Louis, but Louis is still unharmed. Finally, the 10 gods of destruction candidates fell straight from the sky due to exhaustion. "My lord gods of destruction, your heir is not that good either." In the sky, Louis, shirtless, laughed. On the ground, the gods of destruction were filled with rage. As the most powerful gods in the universe, they were actually mocked by a young boy. Horace bit his back teeth and said, "Beerus, is your heir so rude?" "Rude?" Beerus turned his nose up at the gods of destruction and sneered, "You were not gentlemanly at all when you were 10-1 just now. You." Horace's eyes were blazing with anger. "Well, Master Beerus, now that our sparring is over, I'm going to take my leave now." In the air, Louis was about to use instant transmission to go to Namek, but suddenly turned his head and looked at the gods of destruction below. This time you come to trouble my seventh universe, so you should also be prepared for me to trouble your universe. As he spoke, Lewis stared at Quitella and sneered. The other candidates for gods of destruction all held back, but only Troy from universe was so deadly. Very good, very good. After saying that, Lewis disappeared. Only a group of confused gods of destruction and shocked angels were left. This kid actually dared to threaten the gods of destruction. Come back to your senses. Quitella's eyes were blazing with anger. He pointed at Beerus and shouted, Beerus, do your people want to die? I was already annoyed by being mocked by the skinny guy Beerus, but now he is a rubbish threat whose power has not even reached the level of a god. Want to die? Beerus snorted coldly, you just let your people kill you, you'd better pray that Lewis can't cultivate to our level, otherwise you're dead. He knew Saiyan's vengeful character, and Lewis would definitely seek revenge on Quitella in the future. I'm dead, ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter. If I hadn't given you face just now, he would have been able to get away from me. Quitella's face was grim. He was almost furious. He was actually threatened by a piece of trash that someone would cause trouble for him in the future. The other gods of destruction had no time to care about the feud between the two. They wanted to ask Beerus, what about Lewis? Why could he ignore the attacks of the alternate gods of destruction? But a voice came. Master Quitella, let's go. The fourth universe serves Angel Cornic, who brings the devoted Troy to Quitella, and the three of them disappear in an instant. What's going on? The gods of destruction couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Why did Cornic have such a solemn expression when he left? Lord Vermit, let's go too. Master Compa, we are leaving. Harass adults. All the serving angels hurriedly left the seventh universe with their own gods of destruction. Beerus and Whis were the only ones left on the void battlefield. Beerus was in a good mood and looked at Whis. Did you tell Lewis about ignoring? Right. Whis said calmly, but I just said Lewis ignore, that sacred aura and what my father said to me before, I didn't say it. Not bad, this kid Lewis. Beerus hadn't finished yet. Whis spoke up, Lord Beerus, they also asked me about the tower in the north of the earth. What do you say? I said I don't know. I guess my elder sister and the others have gone to look for my father. Chapter 30. The angels and the gods of destruction leave Earth. At this time, in the starry sky of the seventh universe, a universe battleship with the logo of the Galactic Patrol was flying rapidly. Inside the battleship hall, King Vegeta sat at the top, looking at the 15 Saiyans below, and said in a serious tone, I didn't expect there was such a magical thing as Dragon Ball in the world. This time Frieza found the Dragon Ball, we must not let them get it. King Vegeta, this may be our Saiyans' chance for revenge. Bibert stepped forward and said. He dared to say this because the combat power of the 16 Saiyans in the hall had exceeded 100,000. With such a powerful force, he will surely be able to destroy Frieza. No, I have a feeling that even if we transform into giant ape form, we will not be a match for Frieza. King Vegeta, be careful. A Saiyan who looked very much like Son Goku stood up. This Saiyan is none other than Bardock. Bardock looked at King Vegeta sitting in his seat. He never expected that he would lead the Saiyans to join the Galactic Patrol. But it is also because of this that Saiyan has undergone new changes. Saiyan is no longer Frieza's lackey. Saiyan becomes the guardians of the universe. Saiyan's combat power has improved by leaps and bounds. All the changes are due to King Vegeta's original decision. What Bardock and the other Saiyans didn't know was that this wasn't actually King Vegeta's decision, but Beerus ordered King Vegeta to do it. As luck would have it, Saiyan's cells seemed to have awakened because of his changed behavior. Bardock, I actually have the same feeling. Frieza must not have only 530,000 combat power. King Vegeta frowned and said, but if we don't take action, once Frieza gets the Dragon Ball, we Saiyans will be finished. Theodore stood out from the crowd, King Vegeta is right. If we endure this any longer, Frieza will definitely kill us Saiyans as soon as he gets the Dragon Ball. King Vegeta looked at Bardock, Bardock, you are now our #1 Saiyan warrior. When we get to Namek, we will be relying on you. The combat power of the 16 Saiyans in the hall has exceeded 100,000. The strongest among them is Bardock, who has a combat power of 150,000. Defend the glory of Saiyan until death. Bardock looked at King Vegeta with an extremely determined look. If this was the King Vegeta back then, no one would obey his orders no matter what. But now King Vegeta has changed. Not only King Vegeta has changed, but every Saiyan has changed. Saiyan is no longer full of anger, and the violent factor in his body seems to be slowly disappearing. Perhaps because of this, Saiyan's fighting power has increased so terribly. The battleship hall suddenly became quiet. The battle was about to begin, and the Saiyans in the hall all had serious expressions on their faces, obviously affected by what King Vegeta and Bardock had just said. Don't worry about it. At this time, King Vegeta spoke. The Saiyans in the hall all looked up. King Vegeta said, in fact, we Saiyans have another very strong tribesman. A very strong tribesman. The Saiyans frowned. If there really are such powerful people, how come they were hunted down by Frieza in the past? It's just that he doesn't care about us. King Vegeta recalled the scene of meeting Lewis at the Galactic Patrol headquarters 4 years ago and shook his head. Forget it, let's not talk about him. What I want to say is that I have news about Vegeta. King Vegeta-kun? Where is he? The Saiyans were ecstatic, even Bardock. After all, Vegeta is an elite warrior of the Saiyan clan, a genius born with a combat power of 1000. If he comes back to participate in this battle, the chances of winning will be greatly improved. Bardock, I not only have news about my son, I also have news about Kakarot. King Vegeta said everything Vegeta had said to him before. If he didn't, Vegeta's power breaks through to 170,000 combat power. Son Goku's power breaks through to 200,000 combat power. Raditz's power breaks through to 80,000 combat power. Nappa's power breaks through to 100,000 combat power. Now, the 4 of them were heading towards Namek. Okay. Bardock was so excited that he said yes 3 times. The reason why Bardock was so excited was that he had a premonition before the explosion of planet Vegeta. His second son might transform into a Super Saiyan. This is also the reason why he joined the Galactic Patrol and was not retrieved immediately. Now, more than 10 years have passed, and Bardock never expected that his second son would be found by Vegeta and others and become the #1 Saiyan warrior. Maybe that premonition could be true. Theodore, Bibert and other Saiyans were equally delighted. With their joining, Frieza's forces would surely be wiped out once and for all. In the universe Starry Sky, in addition to the Saiyan battleship flying towards Namek, there was another large battleship also flying towards Namek. Inside the battleship, Frieza sat in the baby stroller and laughed. When I find the Dragon Ball, I'm going to kill Saiyan as soon as possible. What candidate gods of destruction, what gods of destruction Beerus, I will kill them all. There will only be one ruler of the universe, and that is me, Frieza. Frieza thought Shenron was omnipotent and could make any wish come true, but he didn't know that Shenron was nothing in front of the gods of destruction. Lord Frieza, according to reports from my men, the Saiyans are also heading towards Namek. I'm afraid they are trying to stop us from taking the Dragon Ball. Jinyu stepped forward. Frieza snorted coldly, so what if they come? As long as they are not the alternate gods of destruction from 4 years ago, as many Saiyans as come will die. Jinyu showed fear, but their strongest Saiyan already has a combat power of 150,000. If he transforms into a giant ape, Jinyu isn't done yet. Frieza looked at him coldly. You don't think that the transformation I made back then was my full strength? Boom! A powerful force exploded from him, and the entire battleship was shaking. Speed up, I need to get to Namek quickly. Yes. Jinyu broke out in a cold sweat and didn't dare to say anything. 2 large warships flew towards Namek, and all forces in the universe were paying attention to the movements of Saiyan and Frieza. The war is about to begin. After this battle, there will be a major reshuffle of the universe. The evil organizations that cooperate with Frieza's forces hope that Frieza can win, while the justice organizations that stand on the side of the Galactic Patrol hope that the Saiyan clan can win. In a starry sky that no one noticed, a medium-sized spaceship passed by. There were 4 Saiyans sitting inside. Their direction is also Namek. Northern Galaxy, Namek. Lewis had just finished a fight and was shirtless when he arrived at Namek. He didn't care how Beerus taunted him back or how he explained the immunity thing to the angel gods of destruction. Lewis was now focused only on the upcoming battle on Namek. Hey, where are they? Lewis looked around and sensed it, but found no invasion of Namek. There are no battle fluctuations either. Lewis's thought flashed and he disappeared in an instant. The Great Elder sat on a huge chair with a worried look on his face. A great disaster is coming. Can Namek really survive this disaster? As the Great Elder was muttering to himself, a figure appeared out of thin air with a swish. Great Elder, long time no see. Lewis waved his hand. Who are you? The Great Elder was startled, and when he looked down, he felt that Lewis was very familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere. Alternate gods of destruction. The Great Elder finally recognized that the young man in front of him was the candidate gods of destruction 4 years ago. He quickly greeted respectfully. Greetings, Lord Candidate Gods of Destruction. Lewis' clothes were torn and he had no idea what had happened. But this is not something that he, the Great Elder of Namek, can control. The Lewis in front of him didn't look much different from 4 years ago, but the dimension of Lewis seemed to be different from before. Hiss. Is this another breakthrough? No need to be so polite. Lewis waved his hand. The Great Elder came to his senses and quickly requested, alternate gods of destruction, this time my Namek is about to face a great disaster, can you? I will definitely do what I promised back then, don't worry. Lewis borrowed someone else's Dragon Ball that year, and when he left Namek, he asked Nirad to convey a message to the Great Elder that in the future he would help Namek solve the impending disaster. Thank you, Lord Alternate Gods of Destruction. The Great Elder's voice sounded very old, but it was obvious that he was much more relaxed. By the way, Great Elder, haven't those people who invaded Namek arrived yet? Lewis asked again. No one has been seen descending on Namek so far. It's not here yet. I was too impatient. Lewis looked at his tattered clothes with a bit of amusement. I should have listened to how Beerus mocked the other gods of destruction before coming here. But now that he's here, Lewis has no plans to go back to Earth. Otherwise, as soon as he leaves Namek, Frieza and his men will arrive here, and Namek will be doomed. I will always be in Namek, Great Elder, just rest assured. Lewis left the Elder's house after leaving these words. Chapter 31. A month passed. In northern Namek, a shirtless figure sits by a lake, eyes closed in meditation. Sudden. An evil aura appeared in the sky. The wind is howling. The atmosphere is extremely depressing. Are you here? Lewis opened his eyes. He discovered a huge universe battleship hovering in the atmosphere above. Boom! Another engine roar was heard, and another universe battleship appeared in the atmosphere. The newly appeared universe battleship is printed with the logo of the Galactic Patrol. Have King Vegeta and the others arrived as well? Lewis raised his head, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. So interesting. The battle between Saiyan and Frieza Corps is exciting to think about. Lewis returned to the Great Elder as soon as possible. The atmosphere in Namek was extremely depressing. All the Nameks gathered in the village of the Great Elder. They felt that a storm was coming. The Great Elder was relieved when he saw Lewis. Alternate gods of destruction, you are here. Lewis nodded. Let all the Namek people gather together, so that the war won't affect you later. I have gathered my people in my current village. That's fine. Don't worry, I'm here. Lewis took off into the air, hovering in mid-air, looking at the 2 warships in the atmosphere above. The hatch of the Frieza Corps battleship opened. Frieza flew out in a baby carriage, emitting an extremely cold aura. Let's go, I want to see how strong Saiyan is now. Yes. Members of the Jinyu Force and the Frieza Corps flew out of the battleship one after another. Frieza's forces brought a total of 2,000 people this time. The hatch of the Saiyan warship opened. Frieza is right next to us, we must not let him take the Dragon Ball. King Vegeta flew in the front. Bardock, Bibert, Theodore and other Saiyan followed closely behind. This time, Saiyan dispatched a total of 1,500 Saiyans, almost the entire Saiyan clan. In the air, the 2 forces saw each other as soon as they flew out of the warship. The 2 forces are 2 kilometers apart. Oh wow, King Vegeta, how dare you take your people away from the Galactic Patrol headquarters? Who gave you the courage? Frieza flew down from the battleship and saw a group of Saiyans flying down from a distance. The one flying in the front was King Vegeta. At this time, Jinyu approached Frieza and whispered, King Frieza, should we destroy the Saiyan warship? Saiyans cannot survive in the universe, and without the universe battleships, they will be trapped in Namek. Frieza kept looking at King Vegeta in the distance without turning his head. You destroyed the Saiyan warships, and the Saiyans also destroyed our warships. Don't worry, they are dead anyway. Jinyu nodded, yes. Frieza, you still dare to speak nonsense when you are about to die. At this time, King Vegeta's voice came from the sky, and he led 1,500 Saiyans to fly towards Frieza. Frieza also flew towards King Vegeta with thousands of universe people. Oh, ho, ho, you don't think you can fight me just because you've improved a little in the past few years, do you? Betrayer, wait for me to slaughter you. Betrayal? We can't be considered as betrayers. You have done so many evil things that you will be punished sooner or later. We Saiyan are just following the general trend. There was a verbal battle going on in the sky. Before the fight even started, the mere exchange of words made the atmosphere tense again. King Vegeta led the Saiyan and finally flew in front of Frieza's army. The Saiyans gnashed their teeth when they saw again the Emperor of the universe who once ruled them. The two forces are facing each other and the battle is about to break out. King Vegeta, tell me why you betrayed me. I want to know your real reason. Frieza hovered in the void, looking coldly at King Vegeta across from him. The real reason? Saiyan, who was sitting opposite him, couldn't help but feel confused when he heard this. In fact, the Saiyan, didn't know why King Vegeta made this decision back then. All they knew was that a distinguished guest came to King Vegeta's palace, and then the palace exploded inexplicably. King Vegeta then announced his decision to join the Galactic Patrol. It is also because of this decision that Saiyan has undergone the current changes. The reason for betraying you? King Vegeta smiled and said, to be honest with you, I was ordered to do this by someone you can't afford to offend. If I don't do this, my Saiyan clan will be the ones to die. Wow! As soon as these words came out, both the Frieza camp and the Saiyan camp were in an uproar. An existence that even Frieza can't afford to offend? You have to know that Frieza is the Emperor of the universe, who else can't he afford to offend? Is it him? When Frieza heard King Vegeta's words, he instantly remembered the Saiyan who broke into his headquarters 5 years ago. Apart from this candidate gods of destruction, he couldn't think of anyone else. It's not that there is no one in the universe that he can't afford to offend. In fact, the one he can't afford to offend is the legendary Majin Buu. As well as the real gods of destruction. In fact, it was Beerus who actually ordered King Vegeta, but Frieza would never think of this. He is Beerus's spokesperson, so how could Beerus order the Saiyan in his hands to betray him? King Vegeta, who is that person you are talking about? Frieza gritted his teeth. Didn't you guess it? It's that guy indeed. He clearly said he didn't care about Saiyan's affairs, but he ended up helping Saiyan secretly. Frieza was furious. He couldn't believe what the candidate gods of destruction said. King Vegeta was confused. Was Frieza saying that Beerus would not help Saiyan? Why did Beerus help Saiyan? One thought that it was Lewis who helped Saiyan, and the other wondered why Beerus helped Saiyan. The two were completely on different channels. King Vegeta shook his head. Frieza, even without that man's orders, we Saiyans will find a way to escape your control. Frieza clenched his fists. Why? At this time, Bardock stood up and said, Frieza, you don't think we don't know anything. Bardock, the strongest of the Saiyan clan right now, with a combat power of 150,000. Frieza looked at Bardock closely. Not bad. It's hard to imagine that you Saiyans have grown to this level in just a dozen years. Tell me, what am I afraid of? Frieza was in no hurry to act, wondering why these Saiyans were anxious to escape his control. Ha ha ha, haven't you always been afraid that our Saiyan clan will have the legendary Super Saiyan? Bardock's eyes were filled with fighting spirit as he looked at Frieza and laughed. Super Saiyan. The universe people of Frieza's faction didn't understand what this meant, but the Saiyans were immediately in an uproar when they heard this. Super Saiyan. Is this legend true? No wonder Frieza is wary of us. Fortunately, Vegeta made that decision in advance. Otherwise we will be killed by Frieza sooner or later. Frieza was silent. He really didn't expect that these Saiyan monkeys knew that he had always been afraid of that Super Saiyan. But Bardock was right. After he had used up the Saiyans, he would definitely destroy the Saiyan clan. I really got away with it with these Saiyans. Lewis was hovering over the Great Elder Village. Frieza and Saiyan were not far away, and the confrontation between the two sides could be seen clearly. Kakarot and Vegeta haven't arrived yet. Lewis looked carefully and found that Vegeta and the others were nowhere to be seen. Could it be that they arrived after the fight between Saiyan and Frieza's army was over? The distant horizon. The expressions of both camps became increasingly cautious. The atmosphere became increasingly solemn. Ready to go. Humph, Jinyu, Come on. Since they dare to come out of the Galactic Patrol headquarters, we should take this opportunity to kill them. Frieza's voice was filled with rage. Yes. Jinyu transformed into a purple light and flew towards the Saiyan clan. Theodore, kill Jinyu for me. King Vegeta waved his hand and gave the order. Yes. Theodore flew out of the crowd and rushed towards Jinyu. The two men fought quickly, and various shock waves flew everywhere, landing on the ground with earth-shaking explosions. The battle reached a fever pitch. Wounds continued to appear on both of them. Seeing such a fierce fight, Frieza frowned and pressed the detector. Ding ding ding. Combat power, 110,000. Combat power, 120,000. The 120,000 combat power naturally belongs to Jinyu, but what Frieza didn't expect was that the Saiyan named Theodore actually had 110,000 combat power. His combat power is worse than Jinyu's, but he still holds on. Hateful. Why did Saiyan suddenly become so powerful? Damn the alternate gods of destruction, it must be him. Frieza gritted his teeth, feeling extremely upset. He blamed everything on Lewis, but it had nothing to do with Lewis. Lewis had never helped the Saiyan people. Ha ha ha, so what if our combat power is a little low? We are a fighting nation. We will only become stronger in battle. King Vegeta clenched his fists and said excitedly, just wait, Jinyu is dead. This scene is so exciting, he is the captain of the Jinyu force. They Saiyan can really fight against it. All Saiyan's emotions were aroused and he was very excited. The following battle was just as King Vegeta said. Theodore became more and more fierce, and soon Jinyu was suppressed, and his injuries became more and more serious. Frieza's breathing quickened upon seeing this. He knew that Saiyans were a warlike race, but he didn't expect them to be so fierce. Press the detector. Ding ding ding. Combat power, 125,000. Combat power, 90,000 combat power. Frieza looked at the data, his chest rising and falling. Damn it. Due to continuous injuries, Jinyu's combat effectiveness has dropped to 90,000 combat power. Theodore became more and more powerful as the battle went on, and his combat power increased by 15,000. King Vegeta, you have succeeded in irritating me. Frieza flew out of the baby carriage before he could finish his words. Jinyu suddenly shouted swap. Frieza was suddenly delighted. Could Jinyu still turn the situation around? In the sky, a white light appeared on Jinyu's body, and Theodore was quickly covered. If he looked, he would be hit. Go to hell. Bardock had already sensed something was wrong and gathered a shock wave to hit Jinyu. Boom. Jinyu was hit, and his body became twisted under the scorching heat. He didn't even have time to scream before he melted in Bardock's shock wave. Damn it, a sneak attack. Frieza was furious. Humph, we are already mortal enemies, who cares if we attack secretly or not? King Vegeta didn't waste any words and waved his hand. Everyone, come at me, this time we will directly wipe out Frieza's forces. The Saiyan leader gave the order, and the 1,500 figures behind King Vegeta burst into white flames and attacked the people in Frieza's army. The two sides quickly entangled with each other. Boom. Namek kept ringing with explosions. The wind was howling, the mountains were collapsing, and the riverbed was collapsing. As if it were the twilight of the gods, Namek fell into darkness and turmoil. The village of the Great Elders. The battle site was not far from here, and the aftermath of the battle between Saiyan and Frieza's army quickly spread here. The great disaster predicted by the Great Elder has come. Oh my god, is this a power that a mortal can possess? We Namek are finished. The Namek people fell into endless panic. At this time, a purple light bloomed in the sky, and the aftermath of the battle coming from afar quickly dissipated as soon as it touched the purple light. What's going on? By the way, the Great Elder said that we Namek people will have a strong man to help us. It must be that strong man who took action. Lewis's action to protect the Namek people was not noticed by Frieza and King Vegeta. Lewis had broken through to the divine dimension a few days ago, and his power was also converted into divine power. Mortals cannot sense the existence of gods, and the detection devices made by mortals naturally cannot do so. Either. Chapter 32. This is King Vegeta. The Saiyans and Frieza's troops were fighting. Only Bardock and King Vegeta remained motionless, and they stared at Frieza closely. Frieza, just surrender. Your men are no match for us Saiyans. Bardock said coldly. Frieza hovered in the air and glanced at his men who were dying. The strength of each Saiyan on the opposite side is more than 8,000 combat power, and there are more than a dozen Saiyan with a combat power of 100,000 watching on the sidelines. The members of the Jinya force were killed in just a few rounds. It would be difficult for the other members of Frieza's army to resist. It was a one-sided massacre. Isn't it the candidate gods of destruction that you rely on? Frieza ignored his men and had a murderous look in his eyes. As long as I get the Dragon Ball, that candidate gods of destruction must die too. King Vegeta frowned. What does this have to do with Lewis? Bardock was even more confused. Who were the alternate gods of destruction? Boom! Frieza began to explode with power, and Namek was shaking. The terrifying power made King Vegeta tremble. Frieza really has a combat power of 530,000 as rumored. Bardock, be careful. Okay, King Vegeta, you must be ready to condense an artificial moon at any time. We definitely cannot defeat Frieza under normal circumstances. Bardock moved, he flashed in front of Frieza and punched him. Bang! The air exploded instantly, and the powerful force shattered the ground below, causing the lake water to flow back. The two fighting groups suddenly turned their heads, and the final battle was about to begin. Frieza was hit in the chest and said calmly, "Is this all the 150,000 combat power?" Snort! Bardock ignored Frieza's provocation. Since he had chosen to confront Frieza head-on, he had already prepared himself mentally. He quickly stepped back, gathering a powerful shockwave and blasting it at Frieza. Meanwhile, King Vegeta joins the battle. King Vegeta with 120,000 combat power and Bardock with 150,000 combat power, both besieged Frieza at the same time. The world lost its color. In the distance, Lewis shook his head. Compared to Bardock and King Vegeta, Frieza is still too strong. The combat power of more than 100,000 people in front of the combat power of 530,000 people seemed like an insurmountable chasm, and there was no hope of victory at all. Really? After fighting for only a short while, Bardock and King Vegeta were hit and slammed to the ground. King Vegeta Bardock. After Bibert and Theodore finished off their opponents, they suddenly attacked Frieza. The same is true for other Saiyans with a combat power of 100,000. Bardock and the other man fell to the ground, spat out the blood in their mouths, and then soared into the sky again. For a while, 16 Saiyans with a combat power of over 100,000 are besieging Frieza. Boom! The magnetic fields of heaven and earth became chaotic, and thunder streaked across the clouds. When the Namek people saw this, it was as if they saw the end of the world. Fortunately, the purple shield protected them. Go to hell! In the sky, Bardock quickly flashed his body, condensing all his strength, and a shock wave rushed towards Frieza like a grey wolf. You rubbish, you still want to hurt me? Frieza used his knee to knock Bibert away, but he remained calm in the face of the incoming shock wave. Raise your hand and slap it hard. Bardock's blast instantly changed direction. Go to hell! The other Saiyan took advantage of this opening and attacked simultaneously. Within seconds, thousands of energy bombs hit Frieza. Boom! Boom! A huge explosion occurred where Frieza was, as if it was bombed by thousands of nuclear bombs. The air was filled with smoke and flames. Buzz! The space was trembling slightly at this moment. Ha-hoo, ha-hoo! He should be dead. He only has 530,000 combat power. If we have 16 people besieging him, he will definitely die. Bibert, Theodore, and other Saiyans were all gasping for breath. Wrong. King Vegeta wiped the blood from his mouth and said in a serious tone, Frieza shouldn't be that simple. Bardock clenched his fists. Yes, if he was that easy to deal with, he wouldn't have been able to stay as the Emperor of the Universe for so long. Suddenly. Crash! A gust of wind blew by. The cloud of smoke in the air slowly dissipated, and a huge figure began to appear. Bardock's pupils shrank sharply. King Vegeta, use the artificial moon. As soon as the words fell, a purple light streaked across the sky. Bibert and the other Saiyan were suspended in mid-air, unable to react in time, and were hit directly. Puff! 16 Saiyan covered their abdomens and vomited blood. This, how is it possible? Theodore's eyes were full of disbelief. Ha ha ha, King Vegeta, do you know my true power? Frieza unlocked his first transformation, and his combat power skyrocketed to 1 million combat power. Frieza said fiercely, I now have 1 million combat power, let's see how you fight me. 1 million combat power? Burdok's heart skipped a beat. He had thought that Frieza's true strength was more than 530,000 combat power, but he didn't expect that Frieza's strength was as much as 1 million. This is trouble. There is a reason why Burdok is so panicked. They can transform into a giant ape to deal with Frieza. But not every Saiyan can remain sane in the giant ape state. Just like Burdok himself can't do it. There is no way a sensible giant ape could defeat Frieza. There is no doubt about this. Among the Saiyans present with a combat power of more than 10, the only ones who are considered superior fighters are King Vegeta, Bibert, and Theodore. Go to hell! Frieza roared, raised his hands high, and condensed an energy bomb with a diameter of 2 meters. He wants to wipe out the Saiyan clan in one fell swoop. Others, don't look at the sky, but Bibert and Theodore, look up. An artificial moon rose into the sky. King Vegeta was ready to condense the artificial moon before the battle. Louis saw clearly the fight between King Vegeta and his friends and Frieza. Saiyan has really grown a lot in the past decade. The Frieza core is no match for the Saiyan. King Vegeta was seen throwing a dazzling ball of light into the sky. Transform into a giant ape. Far away in the sky, Louis noticed his tail twitching constantly, and he didn't dare to look at King Vegeta anymore. Sudden. Louis looked up suddenly, sensing 4 auras rushing in from outside Namek. Those 4 auras were very familiar. Kakarot, Vegeta, you're finally here. Outside Namek, a medium-sized universe ship breaks into the atmosphere. Vegeta, can you sense it? Such a powerful energy. Son Goku clenched his fists and the blood in his body began to boil. I sensed it. Such an evil aura must have come from Frieza. During the years that Vegeta and his companions were on Earth, they also learned how to control and sense Chi. Vegeta looked at the ground below through the transparent glass of the spaceship. This aura is too terrifying. It should have a combat power of over 1 million. I don't know how my father and the others are doing now. 1 million combat power. Raditz was shocked, then can we defeat Frieza? Nappa gritted his teeth and said, so what if we have 1 million combat power? If we transform into giant apes, we can also have 1 million combat power. Nappa just finished speaking. 3 violent auras suddenly appeared below Namek. Raditz, speed up for me. It must be my father transforming into a giant ape form. There is an artificial moon hanging in the sky above Namek. Roar! 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 3 terrifying roars resounded throughout the main battlefield. Bibert, Theodore, and King Vegeta transform into giant ape forms. The combat effectiveness has exceeded 1 million. The other Saiyans didn't dare to look at that moon, because they were not superior warriors and couldn't keep their sanity after transforming into giant apes. Burdok was the same. He didn't dare to look up and kept staring at Frieza in front of him. Ha ha ha, you can transform, and our Saiyan can transform too. What Burdok didn't know was that this wasn't a transformation for Frieza, but an unlocked form. Frieza, die! King Vegeta successfully transformed into a giant ape and remained sane. He, Bibert, and Theodore attacked Frieza at the same time. The sky is filled with lightning and thunder. The wind is raging. In the sky, 3 giant apes instantly wrestled with Frieza. The fight lasted for 10 minutes. The 3 giant apes were indeed very powerful, and every punch they threw made the space vibrate. But the gigantic ape is obviously slower than Frieza, and Frieza can easily dodge the gigantic ape's attacks. Fortunately, it's 3-1. With Burdok's occasional sneak attacks, King Vegeta's side did not fall into a disadvantage. Damn Saiyan monkey! Frieza dodged a punch and retreated 100 meters. He clenched his fists, furious. If it was just a giant ape with a combat power of 1 million, he wouldn't have to worry. He would even have no problem dealing with 2 giant apes at the same time. But the sudden appearance of 3 giant apes at the million level is a bit difficult to deal with. Frieza looked around again, and now all his men were dead. And no Saiyan was killed, only a few were seriously injured. Frieza, surrender! King Vegeta in his giant ape form flew in front of Frieza and stared at him. Bibert, Theodore, and Burdok circled on one side, forming a siege. Burdok, you were right before. I am indeed afraid of you Saiyans. Frieza looked at Burdok in front of him and said coldly, now it seems that my fear was not unfounded. In that case, I will no longer hide my power. I will just kill you and then find the Dragon Ball and seek revenge on your candidate gods of destruction. Chapter 33. Sudden. Boom. The sound of an engine resounded through the sky, and a spaceship was seen descending from the sky. At the same time, 4 figures flew towards this side quickly. Who? In the sky, Frieza was about to transform directly into his ultimate form, but he suddenly turned his head. Frieza, long time no see. Vegeta appeared here in the blink of an eye. Son Goku followed closely behind. He had been keeping an eye on Frieza when he arrived here, but suddenly saw Bardock. Stunned. Seeing this, Bardock was also stunned. It's as if time and space have stopped. Son Goku felt something strange in his heart. Ever since he grew up and matured, he knew that he was not from Earth, and he also knew that Raditz was his biological brother. According to Raditz, he also has a pair of parents. Is it the father? Son Goku flew in front of Bardock and opened his mouth. Kakarot, you're back. Bardock pursed his lips. He had a lot to say to his second son, but at the moment of recognition, he couldn't say it. Son Goku smiled. It turned out that his elder brother was right, he and his father really were exactly the same. It's just that my father now has 2 more scars on his face. When the father and son meet, on the other side. Vegeta, you didn't die despite being hunted by my army. Ha ha ha, thanks to you Frieza, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have the power I have now. Vegeta laughed loudly, and his 170,000 combat power exploded. Vegeta's great strength made King Vegeta in his giant ape form ecstatic, and he said, Vegeta, how much fighting power do you have now? This is his son, the stronger Vegeta is, the happier he is. Father, I now have 170,000 combat power. If I use all my strength, we will have 1.7 million combat power. Vegeta looked at his father and laughed. Upon hearing this, King Vegeta in the sky was ecstatic. If he could have a combat power of 1.7 million when he used his full strength, that must be when he transformed into a giant ape. Little did people know that Vegeta's full strength was the use of Kaioken. Kaioken is much stronger than gigantic ape state. Kaioken can not only increase the body's strength and speed, but also keep the body flexible. None of these can be compared to the state of the great apes. Is 1.7 million a strong fighting force? Frieza hovered in the air, folding his arms, as if the anger in his heart had disappeared. He intends to do his best. When he uses his full strength, no one in this universe can be his opponent, except for the substitute gods of destruction Beerus and Majin Buu. 1.7 million combat power is not strong enough? Ha ha ha, this is the funniest thing I have ever heard. Vegeta twisted his neck and said coldly, Frieza, there are 3 giant apes with a combat power of 1 million now, plus me and Kakarot, you are now facing 5 powerful men with a combat power of 1 million. Vegeta paused, then laughed, are you ready to die? Etc. Bardock flew to the front, holding his severely injured abdomen, and asked in a serious tone, Frieza, you just said that you will no longer hide your strength? Isn't this your full strength? What? Vegeta was startled. He looked sharply at Frieza. King Vegeta, Bibert and Theodore all looked at Frieza. The other Saiyans who had finished their battles also looked closely at Frieza. Frieza looked playful, as if acknowledging what Bardock said. How is that possible? It must be fake. There is still hidden power? I don't believe it. The 1,500 Saiyans behind King Vegeta shouted, looking incredulous. Ha ha ha, then I'll be honest. This transformation is actually the first one I've unlocked. I can unlock this transformation twice more. Frieza clenched his fists and said with a ferocious look on his face, every time I unlock a transformation, it becomes stronger than the previous one. My ultimate state can have a combat power of 60 million. Frieza didn't tell the truth. In fact, he has an even more powerful transformation with a combat power of 120 million. But it's too physically demanding. This is also the reason why Frieza didn't tell the truth. Vegeta, are you ready to die? Frieza responded to Vegeta's words. Immediately following, Frieza mobilized the power in his body and began to explode. Stop him, whether he's lying or not, stop him now. Vegeta yelled with a look of horror on his face. Kakarot, quick points, 10x Kaioken. Boom. A red light exploded from Vegeta's body, and 1.7 million combat power gushed out. Father, you are seriously injured. Here is a magic bean. You can recover if you eat it. Son Goku stuffed a senzu bean into Burdok's hand, and he also burst into a crimson glow. The pressure from the 2 million combat forces made the sky buzz. Burdok saw the senzu beans in his hand and without hesitation, he crushed them and ate them. Crash! A cyclone erupted from him. Not only have my injuries recovered, but my strength has also increased. Burdok laughed. This thing was truly amazing. But now is not the time to think about these things. Burdok, like everyone else, began to burst out with strength. For a while, the three monkeys flew towards Frieza. Other Saiyans wanted to go up to help, but they received the order to retreat, so they could only hide aside. The same was true for Raditz and Nappa. Their combined strength was less than 100,000 combat power, so they had no choice but to retreat. Namek was shaking, the ground was cracking, and magma was rolling and gushing out. It's like the end of the world. Oh my god, is this power something a mortal can possess? Our Namek won't explode. The Namek people in the Great Elder village fell into panic. Louis landed in front of the Great Elder's house and looked at Nehru. Tell the Great Elder to be ready to summon Shenron at any time. There is a high possibility that Namek will explode. Nalu hurriedly said, Mr. Candidate Gods of Destruction, with your power, you should be able to stop all this. Why don't you stop it? Sudden. An old voice came from the house. Nehru, follow the orders of the alternate gods of destruction. Yes. Nilu gritted his teeth and finally went to collect the Dragon Balls. Louis flew up into the sky again and glanced at the Namek people in the village below. I can do it, but Kakarot might not be able to transform. I'm sorry, I'll have to sacrifice your Namek temporarily. I will make it up to you. Louis muttered to himself. Then look into the distance. The three monkeys tried to stop Frieza from unlocking his transformation, but before they could get close to Frieza they were knocked over by a powerful blast of air. They threw energy bombs, but Frieza seemed to have a wall of air on him, blocking them. It can't hurt Frieza at all, so naturally it can't interrupt Frieza's transformation. Looks like Frieza is going to transform into his ultimate form. Louis watched the battle with great interest. Son Goku is the strongest among the three monkeys in terms of both combat power and fighting skills. As for Burdok and the three giant apes, their fighting style and energy utilization were really terrible. As for Vegeta, it is obvious that he has become much more proficient in the use of Chi, and it can be seen that he and Son Goku are of the same lineage. They were all trained by Bobo. Only, Son Goku and Vegeta's fighting styles are still somewhat different. Vegeta is more violent, while Son Goku is more agile, as if he does whatever he wants and is strong without desire. Boom! An overwhelming breath came. It's time to enter the ultimate state. Louis saw that Frieza's size was changing, getting smaller, but Frieza's strength was getting stronger. Frieza enters his ultimate state, and his strength recovers to 60 million combat power. A powerful force exploded from his body, and the air was squeezed together, making a sizzling sound. Frieza is like a prehistoric beast, and it is terrifying to look at. Saiyan, who was hiding far away, was so frightened that his face turned pale. Frieza is still strong. Kakarot, it depends on whether you can transform this time. You're the only one I can rely on. Louis still hadn't shown up, he was still guarding the Namek people over the Great Elder village. Horizon. Frieza turned into a dwarf, even shorter than Vegeta. But his power is terrifying. Any power that erupts unintentionally and penetrates into space can cause chaos. Gurgle. Burdok, who was confronting Frieza, swallowed hard. What a terrifying aura. 60 million combat power. King Vegeta shook his head frantically. How could this be possible? How could someone in the world possess such powerful strength? Do we still have a chance? Bibbert and Theodore were stunned. Vegeta was also terrified. He had worked hard to cultivate to a combat power of 170,000, and using 10 times Kaioken he could have a combat power of 1.7 million. I thought I could get revenge. But who would have thought that Frieza actually has a combat power of 60 million? In particular, he could sense that what Frieza said was not a lie, and that Frieza really did possess a combat power of 60 million. You can't win. Vegeta's eyes were empty. He lost his fighting spirit before the fight even started, and he kept muttering. Sudden. Kakarot, what are you doing? Burdok yelled. Son Goku was seen flying forward. Son Goku looked at Frieza with fighting spirit in his eyes. What a powerful guy, it will be fun to fight you. This scene fell into Lewis's eyes, and Lewis smiled. The reactions of Son Goku and Vegeta are in stark contrast. Son Goku is still the same Son Goku. He never backs down when facing a strong enemy. And Vegeta is still the same Vegeta, always timid before he went through a series of hardships. Soon, Son Goku and Frieza started fighting. Bardock ran far away. If he didn't transform into a giant ape, his combat power would only be over 100,000, not even a fraction of Frieza's. If you go up there you will just be cannon fodder. So Bardock stayed away. King Vegeta and his three-headed giant apes rushed forward and besieged Frieza together with Son Goku. Only Vegeta remained motionless in mid-air. Vegeta used the Kaioken, and clearly had a combat power of 1.7 million, but now he seemed to have lost his soul, and no one had the slightest thought of resisting. Boom! The three giant apes were hit by the shock wave and let out heart-wrenching roars. Then it fell heavily to the ground, and three huge deep pits appeared immediately. Ha ha ha, damn Saiyan monkeys, let me see how you die. Frieza was extremely happy. He waved his hand lightly and Son Goku was beaten until he vomited blood. As long as he finds the Dragon Ball, the universe will be his. Hateful. Bardock, who was hiding in the distance, was furious when he saw his son being ravaged. Vegeta, you are the Saiyan Prince, are you just going to keep watching like this? If his strength wasn't so low that it would only make things worse, Bardock would have rushed up long ago. Vegeta remained unmoved. Vegeta, you're a piece of shit. Our Saiyan clan has already broken with Frieza, so what if he has 60 million combat power? Faced with the enemies of the Saiyan clan, you are actually afraid. Waste. As a Saiyan prince, are you worthy of this status? Bardock was furious. He couldn't bear it any longer and was ready to look up at the moon in the sky. Vegeta's empty eyes flashed a light, and he muttered, I am a waste. Bardock, you are looking for death. Vegeta's eyes sparkled again and he clenched his fists. I'll settle the score with you later. Vegeta didn't look at Bardock, but yelled, 10x Kaioken. A red light burst out from his whole body, and then he rushed forward. Bardock was about to transform into a giant ape, but stopped when he saw what Vegeta did. But the worry in his eyes did not disappear, but became more solemn. Frieza is just too powerful. There is no hope for them Saiyan et al. Chapter 34. Above the Great Elder's Village. Oh! Vegeta is not scared anymore. Lewis found it amusing to see Vegeta taking action again. But even if you go up, Vegeta, it won't be any use. In the distant sky, the three giant apes flew up from the ground again, and besieged Frieza together with Son Goku and Vegeta. Just like Lewis said. Saiyan has no hope of winning this battle. Frieza is unlocked to the ultimate state, and his combat power of 60 million is really exaggerated. With just a slight move, Son Goku and the others began to spit blood. Frieza seemed to be toying with Son Goku and the others, not using his full strength. It's a hopeless battle unless Kakarot transforms into a Super Saiyan. Lewis shook his head. Ha ha ha, that's enough fun, go to hell. Frieza laughed maniacally. Fly into the sky. Suddenly it turned into a purple light and cut through the sky. The three apes and the other two below trembled violently. Boom! Bibert and Theodore exploded instantly. A huge hole appeared in the middle of King Vegeta's giant ape's body. Puff! King Vegeta spurted blood and fell from the void. Father, father! Vegeta's abdomen was soaked in blood, his internal organs were blown to pieces. So strong, I am no match for him at all. Son Goku wasn't much better, his entire body was covered in broken bones. Next Son Goku and Vegeta also fell from the sky. Kakarot. Bardock from the distance flew over and caught King Vegeta, then caught Son Goku and Vegeta. Oh! Frieza laughed, I forgot there are still some fish that slipped through the net. Then you guys should die too. Frieza looked at Bardock, and the 1,500 Saiyans in the distance. He raised his hand and condensed an energy bomb with a diameter of 2 meters. Throw it with all your might. The entire sky was covered in purple light. The group of Saiyans brought by King Vegeta were unable to move due to the powerful pressure. This is a clan being wiped out in one fell swoop. Bardock couldn't care less, as he was the only one who was still able to fight. After he put Son Goku and Vegeta down, he looked towards the artificial moon in the sky. Roar! A mad ape was wreaking havoc, spitting out laser beams and accidentally detonating Frieza's energy bomb in mid-air. Laser beams would occasionally pass over where Frieza was. Saiyan monkeys are so disgusting. Frieza dodged the laser beams and flew towards Bardock, who had transformed into a giant ape. Above the Great Elder's village. How so? Louis looked into the distance, his expression becoming solemn. According to the anime plot, Son Goku will transform into a Super Saiyan during this journey to Namek. But now all the Saiyan brought by King Vegeta, including Son Goku, are about to die. No chance. If Louis doesn't take action, all the Saiyans will die. But a scene in the distance made Louis stop. Frieza was seen flying towards Bardock. Ha ha ha, Frieza, you're looking for death. Louis laughed. He thought Son Goku had no chance to transform, after all, Son Goku did not bring bald Krillin with him. But Frieza's action will undoubtedly push himself into the abyss. Louis glanced at Son Goku on the ground in the distance and saw him stuffing a senzu bean into his mouth. Look at the scene where Bardock is being brutalized by Frieza again. If Bardock is sacrificing himself to heaven, won't Son Goku go berserk? Really? Frieza begins to torture Bardock. First, he broke Bardock's limbs in the giant ape state, and then stuffed an energy bullet into Bardock's mouth. Boom! Bardock's entire head was blown to pieces. The famous scene is coming. No. A powerful force exploded in Son Goku. Recovering from near death. The strength breaks through to 5 million combat power. Son Goku saw his father being murdered by Frieza, and rage filled his entire mind. The violent factors in my body are rioting and my back is burning. Ah! Father! Frieza! You killed my father! I want you dead! Thunder streaked across the sky, and the rebel on the ground flew uncontrollably around Son Goku. Son Goku's aura and hair were flickering. One gold and one black. The flashing frequency keeps increasing. What's going on? After Frieza killed Bardock, he was frightened by the momentum. You're not dead yet. Frieza was stunned when he saw the power that was bursting out from Son Goku. He clearly beat Son Goku to the point of almost dying. Why is this guy alive again? Super Saiyan. Vegeta, who was lying on the ground dying, saw Son Goku's appearance and made a weak voice, Karo, you must kill Frieza. After saying that, Vegeta died. King Vegeta was lying next to Vegeta. King Vegeta had turned back into human form, but he was no longer breathing. Vegeta! Ah! Son Goku clenched his fists, veins bulging. The golden flame no longer flickers. Crash! Son Goku's golden hair color has stabilized. Super Saiyan! Frieza, I'm going to kill you. Boom! A golden light flashed by, and Frieza was hit in the abdomen. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and was thrown sideways for 1,000 meters. No. Impossible. What state are you in? Super Saiyan, how can it be Super Saiyan? Above the Great Elder village, Louis saw this and his body trembled continuously, finally seeing this scene. So exciting! Since Son Goku successfully transformed, there is no doubt that Frieza will lose. Louis' instant transmission disappeared, and he finally left the Great Elder village. On the other side, this place is quite far from where Son Goku and Frieza are fighting. Raditz knelt on the ground and made a heart-wrenching sound, my father is dead. Frieza, I'm going to kill you. Raditz stood up and flew into the sky. Raditz, wait for me, Vegeta was also killed, I want to avenge Vegeta. Nappa rushed forward. I want to avenge the leader too. I want to go too. The 1,500 Saiyans on the ground were filled with hatred. They hated themselves for being so weak. They hated themselves for letting King Vegeta and Bardock deal with Frieza alone while they were hiding behind. A group of Saiyans prepared to take off and kill Frieza. Sudden. Okay, stop. Louis instantly appeared in the air and stopped everyone's actions. Who are you? Gracie stepped forward, he was the most powerful Saiyan among all the Saiyans present. Possesses a combat power of 90,000. King Vegeta, Bardock and Bibbert are not here, so Gracie is the supreme commander here. Louis, why are you here in Namek? In the crowd, Raditz and Nappa stood out, ecstatic. Louis, Vegeta was killed by Frieza, you have to avenge Vegeta. Nappa cried when she saw Louis appear. Others may not know Louis' identity, but Raditz and Nappa have always been with Vegeta and have long known that Louis is the candidate gods of destruction. The candidate gods of destruction are disciples of the strongest in the universe. If he comes here, Frieza will be dead. When Gracie heard Louis' name, she suddenly remembered something. Louis was a senior warrior of the Saiyan clan, but he died while on a mission more than 10 years ago. Louis was stunned. Am I dead? He smiled helplessly and said, I'm not dead. Okay, now you listen to me and leave Namek first. Gracie said coldly, I'll listen to you, who do you think you are? Not finished yet. Louis gathered a blast of destructive energy and pointed it in front of Gracie's eyes. Burdok's son Kakarot has transformed into the legendary Super Saiyan. Kakarot is fighting Frieza right now. Namek will explode soon. I will take you away from Namek now. Raditz asked hurriedly, Louis, did Kakarot really transform into a Super Saiyan? Louis nodded, yes, Frieza is dead. As for Burdok and the others, they can still be resurrected with Dragon Ball, so don't worry. Louis looked at Gracie again, do you have any opinions now? No. No problem. Gracie swallowed his saliva. He felt that if he was hit by the purple energy, he would probably be killed without leaving any trace. The other Saiyans hear Kakarot transforming into the legendary Super Saiyan and fighting Frieza. Suddenly cheered. They came to Namek to stop Frieza from getting the Dragon Ball. As long as they defeat Frieza, the Dragon Ball can be used by them, which means King Vegeta and the others can really be resurrected. Saiyan is saved. Hold hands. Namek is about to explode. Come on, I'll get you out of here. Soon, Louis used instant transmission to bring Saiyan back to the Galactic Patrol headquarters in one go. He then returned to Namek. Chapter 35. At this point, the image of Namek is very horrifying. Lightning and thunder. The wind is raging. The mountains and rivers are shattered. Magma is erupting. Various planetary disasters are taking place on Namek, which is like hell on Earth and is terrifying to watch. Bang! Bang! Two figures streaked across the sky, and their collision created a powerful cyclone that squeezed out a vacuum zone from the void. Countless air currents flowed back here, and a hurricane with a diameter of 1 kilometer suddenly appeared. Frieza, die! Son Goku seemed to exceed the speed of light, and appeared in front of Frieza the next second, kicking him hard. The void seemed to be about to explode. Frieza was hit in the abdomen and hunched over, with blood spurting out of his mouth. The powerful force threw Frieza into the air. Frieza, return my father's life to me. Son Goku's whole body was shining with golden light, like a golden streak passing through the void, and appeared in the sky. Clench your hands together to form a sledgehammer. He smashed down hard towards Frieza, who was thrown up. Boom! The force of thunder penetrated through Son Goku's hands and into Frieza's back. Frieza vomited blood again and let out a heart-wrenching roar. Frieza smashed straight into the ground, creating a deep pit with a diameter of 100 meters. After Son Goku transformed into Super Saiyan, his power broke through to 250 million combat power. 250 million combat forces versus 60 million combat forces. No suspense. Frieza was no match at all and he kept getting beaten up. Son Goku's massacre of Frieza continues, while Louis is on this side. He returned to the village of the Great Elders. The entire village was covered in a purple light, and the aftermath of the battle outside would be destroyed when it reached here. But as Son Goku and Frieza fight, things go from bad to worse for Namek. Now the ground in the village where the Great Elder is located has exploded. Alternate gods of destruction. Nehru came to Louis and asked hurriedly, our Namek is about to explode, what should we do now? I'm sorry. I promised to help you through this difficult time. If I had helped, Namek wouldn't have to be in the current situation. But for some reasons, I'm really sorry. Louis said with a guilty look on his face, get ready to summon Shenron. Nilu glanced at Louis and clenched his fists. He was very angry. Nilu, listen to the orders of the alternate gods of destruction. The voice of the Great Elder came from the room. Yes. Nilu gritted his teeth and could only obey Louis' orders. The Dragon Ball was placed on the ground. Nehru prepares to summon Shenron. Sudden. A terrifying force was coming towards this side. It's Frieza's power. Louis could clearly sense that Frieza seemed to have unleashed his full strength, which was 120 million combat power. But after Frieza burst out with this power, he quickly weakened. Obviously, the combat power of 120 million is not enough compared to the combat power of 250 million. In fact, if Frieza had used all his strength from the beginning, he might have had a chance. Because Son Goku had just transformed into a Super Saiyan and didn't have enough control over the power in his body. Pity. Frieza was too arrogant, thinking that Super Saiyan only sounded powerful, but by the time Son Goku became familiar with the power in his body, he really had no chance at all. Boom! Namek's trembling increased. It seemed like it would explode in the next second. Lewis felt a little regretful. He should have brought Whis with him so that he wouldn't have to use someone else's Dragon Ball. Not that guilty. Summon Shenron. Lewis looked at Nehru. Nalo nodded and said to the Dragon Ball on the ground, number *+%. A golden light shot up into the sky, and the wheel hovered in the air. Greetings, Lord Alternate Gods of Destruction. Bolangia greeted respectfully. Lewis nodded and quickly asked Nehru to make a wish, let Namek return to the way it was a day ago. Time was running out, and Namek was shaking more and more. In Lewis's perception, Frieza, the sinister villain, used a planet-destroying bomb just like in the anime. In another 5 minutes, Namek would surely explode. Nehru spoke in Namek. This wish is simple. In the sky, Bolunga's eyes lit up, and then Namek began to change. The magma returns to the center of the earth. The broken mountains and rivers are reunited. The wind disappeared. The thunder calmed down. Namek returned to the way he was a day ago. Nehru, I'm going to go kill Frieza first. I have 2 more wishes to make when I come back. Lewis disappeared in an instant, leaving only Nalu and the dumbfounded Poranga in the sky. Ha-hoo, ha-hoo. In mid-air, Son Goku clenched his fists and was stunned when he saw the changes in Namek. Wasn't Namek hit by Frieza's planet-destroying bomb and will explode in 5 minutes? How so? Son Goku, why is this happening? On the ground, Frieza's tail was broken, his body was covered with wounds, and he was dying. Son Goku knew what Frieza meant, of course, but he had no idea why Namek had recovered. Preparing to kill Frieza. At this time, with a swish sound, Lewis' instant transmission appeared in front of Frieza. In the sky, Son Goku recognized Lewis. Lewis, why are you here? Son Goku descended from the sky and came in front of Lewis. Lewis turned his head and looked at the protagonist of Dragon Ball. Blonde. Super Saiyan state. The force has a combat power of 250 million. I've been here just to see you transform into a Super Saiyan. You've been here all this time. Son Goku grabbed his shoulders and said angrily, since you are here, why don't you take action? With your strength, you should be able to kill Frieza easily. He already knew about Lewis' power and identity from Vegeta. There are very few people in the universe who can be Lewis' opponent. I'll explain this to you later. Lewis pointed at Frieza who was about to die on the ground and said, Kakarot, are you going to let this guy go? Son Goku looked at Frieza and gritted his teeth, no, I won't let him go. He killed my father and Vegeta. I must make him die. Lewis was stunned. He actually wanted to kill Frieza? In the anime, didn't Son Goku give Frieza a breath at the last moment? It seems to be affected by the butterfly effect. Let me kill him. Lewis waved his hand, raised it, and condensed a destructive energy. Buzz. The heaven and earth shook. Frieza on the ground was vomiting blood and was speechless when he saw Lewis, the candidate gods of destruction. But it is obvious that Frieza hates Lewis. If looks could kill, Lewis would have been killed countless times by Frieza. Lewis raised his hand, but the destructive energy in his hand did not blast out, and paused for a while. Never mind. Lewis shook his head, revoked the destructive energy, and used Ki Blast to blast Frieza into ashes. Although Frieza is hateful, he might be useful in the future, just like the Tournament of Power in the anime. That's why Lewis didn't sabotage Frieza. After Frieza was killed, Son Goku was very depressed. Lewis, if you had helped, my father and Vegeta would not have died. Lewis turned to look at Son Goku and smiled, can't you be resurrected after you die? Have you forgotten about Dragon Ball? Dragon Ball. Son Goku's eyes lit up and he grabbed Lewis and shook him around. I almost forgot, this is great, now my father and Vegeta can be resurrected. Chapter 36. Come on, I've summoned Shenron, follow me. Lewis used instant transmission and took Son Goku away from here. Soon returned to the Great Elder's village. A green western Shenron was hovering in the sky. That Shenron looked very strange. He was sweating all over, as if he was holding back a bowel movement. Do you have any other wishes? If you don't tell me, I can't hold on any longer. With a swish, Louis appeared here with Son Goku. Son Goku was shocked when he saw the wave of wheels in the sky. This is Namek Shenron. He can bring your father back to life. Don't worry. Louis turned his head and said, Porunga, revive Burdock. Nilo saw Louis coming back, so he quickly spoke again in Namek language. In the sky, Bolunga's body became increasingly transparent. Alternate gods of destruction, I'm sorry, but Burdock's body is damaged, so this wish cannot be granted. Hearing this, Son Goku's face turned pale. Louis, it's bad. When I was fighting Frieza, magma erupted from the ground and swallowed up my father and Vegeta's bodies. They won't be able to be resurrected. Is that so? Louis frowned and said, Porungia, restore Frieza's murderous Saiyan body in Namek. Son Goku was stunned, then grabbed Louis' shoulders, shook him, and laughed. Louis, you're so smart. Since Namek Shenron said that without a body, the dead cannot be resurrected. Wouldn't it be possible to restore Burdock and the others' bodies first, and then resurrect them? Candidate gods of destruction, your wish has been granted. As soon as Bolungia finished speaking, 5 corpses appeared on the ground. Burdock, Vegeta, King Vegeta, Bibert, and Theodore. Louis, their bodies are back to health. Son Goku is very happy. Sudden. Don't talk yet. Louis suddenly had a bad feeling, sensed something, and his pupils shrank sharply. He then took off into the air, and when he was halfway up, he turned around and shouted to Niru, Niru, make a wish for everyone on Namek, including these 5 bodies, to be transferred to Earth, quickly. Louis shouted directly, his voice was very anxious. Nilo was startled, he had no idea what was happening, but he did it anyway. But before Nilo could finish his wish, a destructive energy bomb with a diameter of 1 kilometer suddenly appeared in the sky. This destructive energy was like a purple sun falling from the sky. Boom! The void was shattered, and pieces of space fragments fell down, and the hole in the void quickly healed back. If this destructive energy were to fall on Namek, the star field within 1,000,000 miles would probably collapse. Louis can run, and can take Son Goku and Naru away. But the Namek people are definitely dead. Louis already felt guilty towards Namek, and if he let Namek die in front of him. No matter what, Louis doesn't want to. Mad, Quitella, just wait. If Louis was not mistaken, it must be Quitella's doing. A ball of golden energy suddenly burst out from his body, and his hair turned golden in an instant. Super Saiyan. Then instant transmission appeared under the falling destructive energy bomb. Hold it up. Bang. The destructive aura emitted by the destructive energy squeezed out a vacuum zone in the sky. Immunity. All negative effects applied to Louis were instantly cleared by immunity. Louis was not hurt, but with his current strength, he was unable to withstand the destructive energy bomb falling down. Being pressed down, Louis' body fell rapidly toward the ground of Namek. Friction from the air, flames appeared on Louis' body, and he was descending faster and faster. When it is about to touch the ground, the body of Porunga disappeared instantly, and then everyone on Namek, including the 5 corpses on the ground, disappeared. Buzz! Namek was hit by destructive energy, and the star field within billions of miles collapsed instantly, forming a huge black hole of nothingness. Billions of miles beyond the star field. Master Quitella, aren't you afraid that Beerus will cause you trouble if you do this? Angel Cornic hovered in the dark starry sky, holding a staff, looking at Quitella beside him. Quitella stared at the black hole of nothingness and said coldly, so what if Beerus knows? Master Zeno has ordered that the gods of destruction are not allowed to fight each other. Beerus doesn't dare to fight me, or Lord Zeno will definitely wipe him out. Besides, I already have a grudge against that guy. I can't let go of such a talented genius, otherwise he will definitely come to trouble me in the future. He was deeply impressed by the scene of Louis competing with the substitute gods of destruction. At around 20 years old, he broke through to the divine dimension. He also realized the destructive energy in the angel-level freedom state. Quitella turned to look at Cornic. Didn't you ask Whis about that kid? Cornic narrowed his eyes and said, Whis said this is Louis's innate skill, which can ignore all damage. Ignore all harm. Quitella chuckled, do you think that kid Louis can escape from the destructive energy I just used? Cornic remained silent. He felt that Louis could really escape, but he was afraid that Quitella would be unhappy if he said it. He still remembers what his eldest sister said when she left the 7th universe, Louis is a very special guy, I can't see through him, and there was also the sacred aura that swept across Xeno universe, and the mysterious earth. His eldest sister said, and then went to Xeno Palace to find his father to ask for clarification, and the other angels followed her. Only he couldn't get away, because Quitella wanted to lurk in the 7th universe and destroy the hope of the 7th universe. Let's go, or Beerus will come. Quitella said lightly. Yes. Cornic waved his staff and took Quitella away. Next second. Sure enough, 2 figures appeared here. Quitella, you are awesome. Beerus was furious, and the pressure he unleashed made the entire northern galaxy tremble. Whis, get this place back together. Yes. Whis waved and found that the surrounding black holes of nothingness suddenly recovered, and the destroyed Namek also recovered. Whis, take me to the 4th universe. The 2 disappeared. Chapter 37. On Earth, Dongdu Plain. Lewis, Son Goku, and all the Namek people were all teleported here. The Great Elder sat on the ground, looking at the unfamiliar surroundings, and asked in confusion, alternate gods of destruction, what happened? Son Goku swallowed and said, what was that attack just now? It was so scary. Naila wiped the sweat off his face and said, I was really scared. The other Namek who had moved here were also afraid. Great Elder, I'm sorry, I have caused you trouble. Lewis gritted his teeth. He had broken through to the divine dimension and could already sense the presence of gods. The destructive energy bomb was thrown by Quitella. Damn, no wonder Beerus hates that dead rat so much, it's so insidious. You wait here. I will find someone to restore your Namek and then take you back. Anything hit by the destructive energy cannot be restored by ordinary Shenron. The only ones who can do this, besides Super Shenron, are angels time travel. Before 2 minutes were up, Lewis disappeared with a swish. Soon, Lewis found Whis who had just returned from the 4th universe. Lewis asked Whis to help him restore Namek, but Whis said it had already been restored. Lewis returned to the side of the Great Elder. Nehru asked hurriedly, how is the candidate gods of destruction? Your Namek has recovered. Lewis smiled and looked at the Great Elder. Great Elder, I will send you back now. Okay, please, Mr. Gods of Destruction. The Great Elder was held hand in hand with the Namek people, and Lewis used instant teleportation to lead everyone back to Namek. At first glance, Namek was unscathed. The Namek people who returned here were stunned. Could it be that this candidate gods of destruction used Dragon Ball again? Great Elder, to express my apology to you, I will give you something. Lewis took out 3 universal capsules from his pocket and opened one of them. Bang! A 200 cubic meter warehouse appeared on the ground, filled with grey-green fruits. The Great Elder asked in confusion, Master Alternate Gods of Destruction, what is this? These fruits are called spiritual fruits. They are fruits eaten by gods and spirits. They can increase a person's lifespan. In fact, in addition to increasing lifespan, spiritual fruits can also increase a person's strength dramatically. However, the surge in power is limited. Compared with one's lifespan, this amount of power is nothing. Lewis said apologetically, I didn't do what I promised you before, so take this as my apology. Spiritual fruits are the fruits that gods eat. They grow in places where gods live. There are many of them in the world of gods of destruction. Lewis has been eating them since he was a child. Useless. The Great Elder was slightly horrified, please take back the candidate gods of destruction. This is unacceptable. Lewis said calmly, okay, what I gave away, I won't take back. In the anime, the Great Elder passed away after the Namek explosion due to exhaustion of his lifespan. The Elder was kind and friendly, and Lewis was indebted to him, so he couldn't turn a blind eye to this. Besides, these spiritual fruits are nothing to Lewis. Nero, you must remember to let the Great Elder eat these spiritual fruits. After eating the spiritual fruits in this warehouse, he should be able to increase his lifespan by a few hundred years. Ah! Naila was stunned, then ecstatic. The other Nameks were equally excited. The Great Elder is their father, and he is very old. To put it bluntly, he may pass away at any time. In fact, they have the Dragon Ball, and if they make a wish, they can restore the Elder's youth. But this is against nature. The Great Elder would definitely not allow them to do this. If eating these fruits can increase lifespan, it would be different from making a wish with a Dragon Ball, and the Great Elder would definitely accept it. Lewis gave the remaining 2 universal capsules to Nilo and then left Namek. Earth, Taiza's backyard. Bulma was heartbroken as she looked at Vegeta's body lying on the ground. Woo, Vegeta, how did you die? Bulma pulled Son Goku by the collar. Goku, who killed Vegeta? Why didn't you protect him? Bulma, I'm sorry. Son Goku gritted his teeth and said, it was me who failed to protect him, but don't worry, we can use the Dragon Ball to revive Vegeta and my father. Yet, we still have Dragon Ball. Bulma just remembered Dragon Ball at this time, and she was about to get the Dragon Ball radar. With a swish sound, Lewis suddenly appeared here. Taisai, who was standing by, came over in a hurry and felt around. She found that Lewis was not hurt and breathed a sigh of relief. Where have you been for the past month? You scared me to death. Don't worry, don't you know my physique? Lewis held Tais in his arms, feeling the warmth of her body and her heartbeat. He hadn't seen Tais for a month and missed her terribly. At this time, brother-in-law, you have to avenge Vegeta. Bulma came over. Lewis let go of Taisai and comforted her, don't worry, Vegeta will be fine. Also, the murderer who killed Vegeta has been killed by me. Lewis looked at Whis lying on the beach chair. Whis, help me revive these 5 people so I don't have to look for Dragon Ball. Whis okay. Bulma was stunned. Even Tais was confused. She knew Whis knew a lot and was very powerful, but could he resurrect a person? You really bother me with everything. Whis stood up from the beach chair and waved his staff. Buzz. A ray of holy light passed across the 5 corpses on the ground. Sudden. Where is this place? Where's Frieza? The 5 corpses slowly opened their eyes. Bulma cried with joy and hugged Vegeta on the ground. Vegeta. Son Goku and Taisai were stunned. They could revive a person without summoning Shenron. Lewis smiled slightly, resurrecting a person with a corpse is nothing. At the end of the Tournament of Power in the anime, Whis directly resurrected Frieza in soul form. Lewis, after you have dealt with your business, come back to the Gods of Destruction world. Whis said, and then disappeared. Lewis saw Whis disappear, but didn't see Beerus. Where is Beerus? Did he go back to the world of Gods of Destruction? Bulma. On the ground, Vegeta woke up and was a little dazed, looking at Bulma who was holding him. Am I not dead? It was my brother-in-law who asked Whis to revive you. Bulma lay on top of him, her eyes red. At this time. Hiss. Bardock, King Vegeta, Bibbert and Theodore beside them also woke up. We're not dead. That's not right. I remember that Bibbert and I were both blown to pieces by Frieza. Suddenly, King Vegeta saw Lewis' figure and his pupils shrank sharply. Lewis. Lewis, did you save us? King Vegeta shook his head again. No, you said you wouldn't care about Saiyan's affairs, how could you have saved us? King Vegeta, who is he? Until now, Bardock and Bibbert still find it difficult to be confident that they can be resurrected. But who is this person in front of me? King Vegeta walked in front of Lewis and kept looking at him without turning his head. Bardock, I told you before that we Saiyans actually have another strong man, but that strong man has never paid attention to us. Yes, you did. Bardock looked at King Vegeta's back, nodded, and suddenly his body was shocked. Could it be that the person King Vegeta was looking at was the powerful man? Etc. He has a tail, he is really Saiyan. Bibbert and Theodore said, King Vegeta, is this the strong man you mentioned? Why have we never seen him before? Vegeta said, you have seen it. Have you forgotten that more than a decade ago, our Saiyan clan had a senior warrior named Lewis? Bibbert and the other 2 suddenly realized that there really was a superior warrior named Lewis. It's just that King Vegeta said that Lewis died while performing a mission. Actually, he's not dead. He left planet Vegeta a long time ago. He was accepted as a disciple by the most powerful god in the universe. Now that he's here, there's a good chance that he's the one who saved us. Hearing this, Bardock, Theodore and Bibbert breathed a sigh of relief. To be accepted as a disciple by the most powerful god in the universe? Since he has such status, why doesn't he come to help Saiyan? Taisai, Bulma, and Son Goku next to them also found out that this was Lewis' previous experience. Chapter 38. Hearing this, Vegeta looked weird. Lewis didn't ignore Saiyan. Didn't he have Dr. Briefs build a gravity chamber for Son Goku? Also take him and Son Goku to King Kai to learn Kaioken and Spirit Bomb? Lewis stood in front of everyone, being looked at by everyone, and said nothing. His expression was calm, I know you have a lot of doubts, so I will tell you why I don't care about Saiyan. Frieza is the spokesperson for Beerus-sama. During the time when Beerus-sama is asleep, Frieza will destroy the planet. Just because of your existence, the Frieza core has become more and more arrogant, its power has spread faster and faster, and it has destroyed more and more planets. Whether it is a qualified planet or an unqualified planet, it will be destroyed by you. This has had a huge impact on the stability of the universe, so you have angered Lord Beerus very early on. Lord Beerus didn't destroy you because of me. As for why I don't care about you. Louis paused for a moment and said, I am the alternate gods of destruction. The voice was very plain, but it sounded like thunder to everyone's ears. Yes. Beerus originally intended to kill the Saiyan clan, but Saiyan was spared from death because of Louis's face. The alternate gods of destruction are the successors of the gods of destruction. The alternate gods of destruction must obey the will of the gods of destruction. Louis naturally can't care about Saiyan anymore. Also, the gods are ruthless, and Louis certainly cannot interfere too much in the development of the world. Now that they can be resurrected, it must be because of Louis' help. He interfered with the development of the mortal world, and Beerus will definitely blame them in the future. King Vegeta's face was filled with shame, he had wronged Louis. Bardock and the others were initially angry when they heard that Louis was a Saiyan strongman and a fellow tribesman, but he ignored the Saiyan. But now, after hearing the explanation, my ears are burning and I feel ashamed. It's not that others don't care about Saiyan, but that others have to stick to their duties as gods. Louis had no idea what everyone was thinking. If you knew, you would definitely laugh out loud. What he just said was true, but more importantly, Louis simply didn't want to care about them. But no matter what happened in the past, Saiyan is different now. Louis said, well, now that you are all resurrected, I have to go back to the gods of destruction world first. When Whis left, he didn't see Beerus, so Louis guessed that Beerus might have gone to the fourth universe. He had to go back and check. King Vegeta asked hurriedly, Louis, how are our other Saiyans doing now? Just ask Kakarot about these. After saying that, Louis disappeared with ties. Everyone looked at Son Goku. Son Goku told everything that happened on Namek. He transforms into Super Saiyan. Saiyan was sent back to the Galactic Patrol headquarters by Louis. Frieza was killed by Louis. They were resurrected by Whis. After hearing everything, several Saiyans swallowed their saliva. Super Saiyan. Kakarot, are you serious? Did you really transform into a Super Saiyan? It's no wonder that everyone is so excited. You know, Super Saiyan is a legend of the Saiyan clan. Frieza attacked Saiyan because he was worried about the appearance of Saiyan's legend. Hearing this news now, no Saiyan can remain unexcited. Besides, if this is true, does that mean they can also transform into Super Saiyan? Everyone's faces were about to hit his face, and Son Goku felt a little uncomfortable and took a step back. Son Goku touched his head and smiled, Lu. Louis said that state is called Super Saiyan, but I don't know if it is true. Seeing him so silly, everyone was speechless. Vegeta yelled, Kakarot, transform for us to see, quick. He remembered that he seemed to see a blonde and blue-eyed figure before he died. Bardock suppressed his excitement and said, yes, Kakarot, just transform and let us see. Unlike everyone else, Bardock believed 80% of what Son Goku said. Because he had a premonition before. His second son will transform into a Super Saiyan. Okay, move aside and let me try. Son Goku stepped aside and King Vegeta and the others quickly made way. Bulma is also intrigued by this so-called Super Saiyan. Suddenly, all eyes were on Son Goku. But after a while, Son Goku still hasn't changed at all. Kakarot, what's wrong with you? I can't seem to change. Son Goku looked at everyone with a strange expression. Vegeta said, you have changed, haven't you? Why can't you change? Bardock said, are you too nervous? Try again. King Vegeta, Bibert and the others nodded and told Son Goku to try again. Okay, I'll try again. Son Goku tries again. After a while, it still didn't work. This time even he was stunned. When Namek saw his father being killed, he was so angry that he successfully transformed. Why can't he do it now? King Vegeta frowned and asked, Kakarot, you are not lying to us, are you? Bibert, Theodore and the others all looked at Son Goku with suspicion. Son Goku frowned and said, I didn't lie to you, I was the one who defeated Frieza. Bardock said incredulously, you defeated Frieza? Yes, but it was Lewis who killed Frieza in the end. Don't you believe me? Son Goku was getting a little anxious. It seemed like everyone was doubting him. But when he transformed, everyone died. He couldn't transform now, and Lewis left in such a hurry, he really couldn't explain it. At this time, Vegeta came forward and said seriously, Kakarot, I believe you. He paused for a moment and continued, before I died, I saw a golden figure. I must not be mistaken. When Vegeta said this, the others were stunned at first, and then jumped up excitedly. It's developed, it's developed. Bardock was already hugging King Vegeta, his face filled with excitement. Saiyan legends are true. Then they will definitely be able to transform in the future. Gods of Destruction World. With a swish sound, two figures appeared by the lake. Taisai jumped off Lewis and asked in confusion, Lewis, why are you back here again? I'm back for Master Beerus. Lewis walked towards the Palace of Destruction and found no one inside. Is he really going to the fourth universe to cause trouble for Quitella? Whiz! Lewis looked up and shouted. The palace echoed with his voice. When the sound disappeared, Whis did not respond to him. Lord Beerus, please don't mess around. Lewis looked anxious. Now he was sure that it was Beerus who asked Whis to take him to the fourth universe. Quitella attacked him, and Beerus must have wanted to avenge him. Can. Zeno stipulates that gods of destruction cannot fight each other. If Beerus and Quitella fight, it will be a felony. No, I must stop him. Lewis paced back and forth in the palace anxiously. Beerus usually seemed impatient with him, but Lewis knew that Beerus actually cared about him. He was really touched that someone stood up for him this time. Lewis, what's wrong with you? I'm thinking about how to get to the fourth universe. It is actually not that easy to leave the seventh universe and go to the fourth universe. There are barriers between universes that are almost impossible for mortals to break. Lewis' current strength, although his realm has broken through to the level of gods, his strength has not yet reached the realm of gods. It's really hard to break the universe barrier. Other universes. Taisai has been in the Gods of Destruction world for so long that she already knows the structure of the universe. It turns out there is not just one universe in the world, but 11. Lewis, why don't you go ask the old Supreme Kai? Taisai remembered that Lewis told her that there was a Supreme Kai from ancient times in the 7th universe, and that old Supreme Kai must know a lot of things. Maybe the old Supreme Kai knows how to leave the 7th universe. Yes. Lewis was ecstatic. He picked up Tais and kissed her rosy little mouth hard. Taisi, wait here for me. I'm going to the Supreme Kai world and will be back soon. Lewis put Tais down and then disappeared. Then come back soon. Taisai shouted at the air, then walked out of the palace helplessly. She didn't know what happened, but judging from Lewis's anxious expression, there must be something urgent. I hope he can solve it smoothly. Chapter 39. Supreme Kai World. Green lawns, tall trees. The breeze blew and the leaves rustled. There were 3 people sitting under the big tree. Asin, you understand the duties of the Supreme Kai, right? Grandfather, I understand. So are you still afraid of Majin Buu? No longer afraid. Xin looked at the old Supreme Kai and chuckled. It turns out there are gods of destruction in the universe, so we don't have to be afraid of Majin Buu anymore. Sudden. With a swish sound, a figure appeared beside him. When Jebet, who was next to Ashen, saw this man, his neck shrank and his whole body couldn't help but tremble. Lewis naturally saw Jebet, but he didn't have time to pay attention to this guy now. Old Supreme Kai, I have something urgent to discuss with you. Lewis? Why are you here? Old Supreme Kai was stunned. Lewis briefly recounted the previous exchange and finally mentioned Beerus's trip to the 4th universe. What? Quitella attacked you? Old Supreme Kai is furious. Shin was startled by the old Supreme Kai's loud voice, but couldn't help but worry when he heard that Lewis had been attacked. Lewis, you're not hurt. I'm fine. Lewis looked at the old Supreme Kai and asked hurriedly, Old Supreme Kai, how can I get to the 4th universe? If I don't stop Master Beerus, I'm afraid something bad will happen. Don't worry, that skinny rib knows the consequences of fighting the gods of destruction. He's not that stupid. The old Supreme Kai gritted his teeth and said, that damn rat really went too far. Beerus did a great job this time. Old Supreme Kai, you can scold me later. Louis smiled bitterly, do you have a way to make me leave the 7th universe? Louis was really touched that both the old Supreme Kai and Beerus cared so much about him. For the first time, he felt a sense of belonging to the 7th universe. There are 2 ways to leave the 7th universe. The old Supreme Kai calmed down a bit. First, we must use our great power to break through the barriers of the universe. But to do this, you need to possess the power of the divine realm. You probably can't do it with your current strength. Second, use the universe to travel through the cubes. Universe Shuttle Cube. Louis and Asen were stunned. Soon, Louis thought of something and said, are you talking about the shuttle cube in Whis' hand? The old Supreme Kai looked at Louis with a strange expression, I didn't expect Whis to even tell you this. Yes, it's the teleporting cube. Louis smacked his lips. Actually, Whis had never told him about this. He was thinking of the anime from his previous life, where Whis used the universe shuttle cube to take everyone to the tournament of power. Old Supreme Kai, Whis is not here, and we don't have a shuttle cube. Louis shook his head. The old Supreme Kai raised his head proudly, did I say I didn't? You have. Louis was ecstatic, how come you have a universe shuttle cube? Why do you care so much? I have it, it's fine. Do you want it or not? Old Supreme Kai blushed. He has a time travel cube, which he actually asked Whis for in order to go to other universes to date girls. I want it, old Supreme Kai, lend it to me. I'll give it to you right away. The old Supreme Kai waved his hand, and the other dimension was opened, and a purple cube flew out from it. Fortunately, you have broken through to the divine level. You can use the power of the gods to infuse the shuttle cube, so that you can exert the maximum speed of the shuttle cube. The old Supreme Kai paused and said, forget it, I'll go with you. This damn rat actually sneak attacked his universe's candidate gods of destruction. It makes people angry just thinking about it. He also wants to go there. He can't beat gods of destruction, but can't he beat Supreme Kai over there? It would be great if you could come along, too. Louis is still worried about breaking through the universe barrier, so how can he get to the 4th universe? With the old Supreme Kai following me, there's nothing to worry about. Axon, stay and watch the 7th universe. We'll be back soon. Yes. Ashen nodded. Soon, Louis and the old Supreme Kai rode the universe through the cube and disappeared into the Supreme Kai world. Inside the block, Louis was in a bit of a bad mood. The old Supreme Kai noticed his expression and said, don't worry too much, Louis. That skinny rib is smart. He won't do anything rash. Louis nodded. He was so anxious before that he forgot what kind of personality Beerus had. Beerus certainly won't be fooled so easily by Quitella. This wasn't the reason why he was upset. He remembered what he said to Ties before leaving the Gods of Destruction world. He said he would be back soon. Now, I don't know how long it will take to go to other universes. I hope it can be quick, otherwise Taisai will definitely be very worried. Prepare to pass through the barrier, be careful. The old Supreme Kai's voice reached his ears. Louis came back to his senses and looked ahead, only to see a film of light blocking the way. He increased the output of divine power. Swish! The universe shuttle cube turned into a purple light and instantly passed through the light film. Soon we arrived at a pitch-black space. Looking ahead, I saw 11 huge spheres floating in front of me. Louis looked back and found that the 7th universe was also a similar sphere. The 3rd sphere on the left is the 4th universe. Just move in that direction. Good. Ding, task released, please sign in at the 4th universe, reward, erasure prototype. The universe shuttle cube suddenly stopped. Louis, what's wrong with you? No, I'm leaving now. Chapter 40. The 4th universe. A ray of light shone through the barrier. Ding, check-in mission completed, reward, erasure prototype buzz. Inside the cube, Louis' body shook, and a rule that erased everything grew in his body. The old Supreme Kai next to him collapsed to the ground in fear. Louis was stunned. Old Supreme Kai, what's wrong with you? The old Supreme Kai was trembling as he spoke. What was that aura you just had? If he sensed it correctly, there was a hint of erasing power emanating from Louis. Gurgle. The old Supreme Kai swallowed hard and erased his power, which was a move only Grand Priest and Zeno could use. Why this kid? I don't know either. Louis couldn't explain it, so he could only play dumb. The old Supreme Kai stood up tremblingly and stared at Louis, his eyes becoming more and more weird. Ignore. Erase. Perfect and free state. This kid. No wonder Whis said this guy is special, he has so many secrets. The old Supreme Kai thought again of the sacred aura Whis had talked about a few years ago. He was sure that it had something to do with the boy in front of him. Louis, you. Old Supreme Kai opened his mouth, but in the end he didn't ask anything. Louis was relieved when he saw that the old Supreme Kai didn't say anything. Fortunately, old Supreme Kai didn't ask any questions, otherwise it would be hard to explain. Old Supreme Kai, let's go find Master Beerus. Okay, Beerus should be in the Gods of Destruction realm in the 4th universe. The old Supreme Kai looked up, Whis. Crash. A holy light appears inside the block. Whis came here and was slightly stunned. Louis, didn't I tell you to go back to the Gods of Destruction world? Why are you here? Louis rolled his eyes. If I don't come, will Lord Beerus fight with Quitella? The old Supreme Kai asked. Whis, that skinny rib guy shouldn't have messed around, right? Louis held his breath, dreading the news of Beerus and Quitella fighting. Whis shook his head and smiled. Although Lord Beerus is usually arrogant, you are not unaware of his fear of death, old Supreme Kai. After hearing this, Beerus was afraid of death and sealed him for tens of millions of years. The old Supreme Kai couldn't help but twitch his lips slightly. So what is Lord Beerus doing now? Louis was confused. Wasn't Beerus here to help him? Haha, you'll know when you go to the Gods of Destruction realm in the 4th universe. Xeno Palace. Except for Konik and Whis, all the other angels gathered here. The 10th universe angel Kurz looked at the Grand Priest and said respectfully, Father, do you know about the 7th universe? Grand Priest looked at his children and smiled, what's wrong? Angel Vados from the 6th universe said, more than a decade ago, an extremely sacred aura appeared in the 7th universe. We went to the 7th universe a few days ago to investigate this matter. As a result, we found that the candidate Gods of Destruction of the 7th universe is very special. He has mastered the rules of destruction in more than 10 years. The 5th universe angel Kyokator continued, in addition, he has also realized the realm of perfect freedom. The most important point. He can actually ignore any attack. As soon as these words came out, all the angels at the scene held their breath. The atmosphere was very solemn. Angels doubt Louis' identity. No matter how talented an ordinary person is, it is impossible for him to do this. You know, among the angels present, is there anyone who could realize the state of perfect freedom in just over 10 years when he was a child? This is impossible. Every angel has to go through many hardships before they can achieve success. If you insist on saying that he is gifted and has attained the state of perfect freedom, then that's fine. But that ignore cannot be explained by talent. So you want to know the identity of that Louis? Grand Priest laughed. Kes frowned, Father, with that expression on your face, do you know his identity? The other angels looked closely at the Grand Priest. Grand Priest raised his hands, took 2 steps forward, and said with a sigh, in fact, when that sacred aura appeared more than 10 years ago, I also investigated this matter. Yes, that aura was emitted by the 7th universe's candidate Gods of Destruction. Wow! The angels were in an uproar and extremely shocked. That sacred aura swept across the entire Xeno universe and could be sensed in every corner. That breath was like the breath of the beginning of the world, pure and bright, sacred. In the eyes of the angels, only their father or Xeno can explode. Unexpectedly, it was the 7th universe's candidate Gods of Destruction that erupted. What you said about ignoring the attack, I have actually tried it myself. How's it going? The angels swallowed their saliva and clenched their fists, their palms full of sweat. They want to know the answer, but they already have the answer in their hearts. Grand Priest personally tried to test it more than 10 years ago. As a result, they led the alternate Gods of Destruction of this universe to compete with Louis. This means that Louis is fine. This means Louis survived the Grand Priest's test. Don't you have the answer? Grand Priest said with a smile, yes, he survived my test. He can indeed ignore any attack. Boom. My heart was shocked. The angels were stunned. Even though they were mentally prepared, they were still shocked when they heard the Grand Priest's affirmative answer. Their father is the number 1 person after Xeno. Father, do you know his identity? Kes asked hurriedly. Yes, 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 he can't be from the dark demon world, right? Asked Campbell. That young man doesn't have any dark aura, so he can't be from the dark demon realm. Yes, if he really was from the dark demon realm, Whis would have discovered it and would not have accepted him as a candidate gods of destruction. The angels were talking to each other. All right. Grand Priest waved his hand. Actually, I have some guesses. I have also tried to sound out Master Zeno. The Grand Priest was silent and said nothing more. But the expression of Grand Priest told the angels that their father might have guessed Lewis's identity, and it was related to Master Zeno, this. The angels looked at each other, and saw shock in each other's eyes. No matter what he does, don't bother with it. Grand Priest looked at the angels and said solemnly, did you hear what I said clearly? The angels' hearts tightened and they quickly responded, yes. Sudden. A faint breath of erasure came from the fourth universe. The other angels didn't react. But Kes' pupils shrank sharply, she turned her head to look deep into the Zeno Palace, then looked at her father. Father. Okay, leave it alone. At this time, Grand Priest looked in the direction of the fourth universe, with a slight smile on his face. The other angels were confused. What happened to their eldest sister and father? Chapter 41. The fourth universe, the world of gods of destruction. The environment here is similar to the gods of destruction world in the seventh universe. Lakes, forests, mountains. The land is the same purple. You damned rat, haven't you eaten yet? Push harder. By the lake, Beerus sat on a chair, crossed his legs, and looked very happy. Quitella behind him gritted his teeth and squeezed Beerus' shoulders a little harder. Hiss. Beerus jumped up and yelled, you're using so much force because you have a problem with me or something. Crack. Quitella clenched his fists, his chest heaving with rage. You skinny cat, fight me if you dare. Fight. Beerus laughed, fighting is not something a gentleman like me would do. You. Quitella gritted his teeth. Troy next to him didn't dare to move or breathe, for fear that his loud breathing would attract the attention of the two gods. At this time. Swish. A stream of colorful light fell from the sky. The old Supreme Kai quickly came to Beerus and looked him up and down. Beerus, you didn't mess around. The old Supreme Kai's eyes moved up and down, and Beerus felt uncomfortable. Old man, if you keep looking at me like that, believe it or not, I will seal you again. The old Supreme Kai immediately retracted his gaze. However, he found that Beerus was in good condition and there was no sign of fighting at all. Lewis came to Beerus and said gratefully, Master Beerus, thank you. Not finished yet. Beerus punched Lewis in the chest. With a bang, the heaven and earth shook. Lewis was naturally fine, but Quitella's eyelids twitched violently. Oh my god, is this guy made of iron? The power of the fifth level of the divine realm hit him, but nothing happened. Seeing this, Konnik swallowed his saliva. It seemed that what was said about ignore was indeed true. Okay, you're a grown man, why are you so sentimental? Ignoring Quitella and the others, Beerus patted Lewis' chest and said seriously, you are my heir. No one can touch you without my permission. Beerus knew why Lewis had that expression, but wasn't it only natural for him to stand up for his disciple? If anyone dares to touch you, I will make that person suffer. As he said this, Beerus looked at Quitella with murderous eyes. Beerus, are you done yet? I just attacked your apprentice. I have done everything you asked me to do in the past 2 days. What else do you want? Quitella clenched his fists and growled. Lewis and the old Supreme Kai looked at each other and were stunned. What had Beerus done? Why was this damn rat so angry? Whis's mouth curled up slightly, and he told the old Supreme Kai and Lewis what Beerus had done in the past 2 days. It turned out that after Beerus discovered that Quitella had attacked Lewis, he was furious and couldn't help but kill directly towards the fourth universe. But Beerus has always been afraid of death. If he takes action, Zeno will definitely not let him go. Isn't this exactly what Quitella wants? So Beerus is cheap. Aren't you coming to my seventh universe to attack my heir? Well then, I will fight back. After Beerus asked Whis to bring him to the fourth universe, he also attacked the fourth universe's candidate gods of destruction Troy. That is, Angel Cornic arrived in time and used time travel to restore Troy. Otherwise Troy would have died long ago. After Troy recovered, Beerus still wouldn't stop, so he hid near the fourth universe gods of destruction realm. As long as Troy dared to come out once, he would kill Troy. This is not the end yet. Beerus also destroys the star field of the fourth universe from time to time. He concluded that even if Quitella was very angry, he would not dare to fight him. If Quitella really couldn't help but fight him, so much the better. After all, when the matter came to Zeno, he was in the right. It was you, Quitella, who ambushed my disciple, so it's not too much for me to destroy your universe. So within 2 days, Beerus directly destroyed and paralyzed one of the galaxies in the fourth universe. After this, Beerus's attention shifted to another galaxy in the fourth universe. At this point, Quitella finally couldn't take it anymore. Fighting with Beerus was impossible. After all, whoever strikes first will die. Quitella knew he was in the wrong, so he could only ask Beerus how to let him go. Seeing that his goal had been achieved, Beerus offered to be his servant for 3 days. Quitella felt extremely humiliated, but he had no choice but to do this, otherwise his universe would always be remembered by Beerus. Then there was the scene that Louis saw when he arrived in the fourth universe. Ha ha ha. Louis couldn't help but laughed out loud. The old Supreme Kai also covered his mouth, but he didn't want Louis to be so bold as to laugh out loud. This is too much. Quitella's ears felt hot, and Louis' laughter nailed him to the wall of shame. When did an alternate gods of destruction have the right to taunt him? Too much bullying. Louis' eyes were sharp. He came forward and faced Quitella, only 10 centimeters apart. Eye to eye. They can both see the other party's murderous intent. Are you jealous of my talent? Louis taunted. Why? You don't have a genius like me in your universe, so you want to launch a sneak attack. Do you know who you're talking to? Quitella looked gloomy. The people in the 7th universe are so hateful. Looking at the face of this boy in front of me, I can't help but want to kill him. Who are you talking to? Hearing this, Beerus was filled with an aura of destruction. He took a step forward and the entire 4th universe was shaking. Whis and Conic straightened up, ready to attack. The destruction caused by the battle between the two gods of destruction was simply too exaggerated. Lord Beerus, let me handle this. Louis waved his hand gently. Beerus glanced at Louis, and finally let go of the aura of destruction. I know you really want to kill me. After all, if you kill me, the future hope of the 7th universe will be cut off. But... Louis smiled evilly, you can't kill me, I can ignore any harm in the world. Boom. Old Supreme Kai, Quitella, Cornic, and Troy trembled, and their minds were violently shocked. Although they had heard about this a long time ago, they were still shocked to hear the affirmative answer from Louis himself. Is there really someone who can ignore any attack? I just learned a new move and I want to try it out on you. Louis grinned at Quitella, and it was an extremely weird smile. Raise your hands. Erase. Chapter 42. Buzz. White light appeared in Louis' hand. The incomparable might seems to be able to wipe out all matter in the world. Except for the 2 angels, everyone else collapsed to the ground. Their eyes were wide open, their mouths were wide open, their faces were pale, and their whole bodies were shaking unconsciously. It was like seeing a ghost. Fear, anxiety, panic, confusion. Whis and Cornic's expressions were equally exaggerated. They were stunned and their hearts were beating wildly. Erase, erase. This is a move that only Grand Priest and Zeno can use. Why did Louis do this? Quitella collapsed to the ground, a cold sweat running down his back, his voice trembling. How do you know Master Zeno's moves? Quitella was very familiar with this move. A long time ago, Zeno universe originally had 18 universes. But now there are only 12 universes left. The missing 6 universes were wiped out by this move. Familiar picture, familiar atmosphere. When Quitella saw this, he felt like a mouse meeting a cat, full of fear and despair. No one can escape from the erasure. Whis was stunned. Louis, when did you learn this trick? Whis knew that Louis was very talented. In just over 10 years, he had mastered the rules of destruction at the gods of destruction level and the realm of perfect freedom at the angel level. But erasure is not an ordinary move. No. Erase is not a move at all, but a collection of rules. Destruction, time, space, light, darkness. A law that combines all the rules into one. Only those above the priest level are qualified to comprehend this kind of law. Louis actually did this. The old Supreme Kai sat on the ground, not speaking, and stared at Louis closely. It turned out that he was not wrong in sensing it before. that breath was really the breath of erasure. Louis didn't look at Whis, but looked down at Quitella, who was lying on the ground, and sneered, "Master Quitella, do you know who you are talking to?" Quitella had said the same thing to Louis before, and Louis had said it back word for word. Quitella was facing the white halo, his scalp tingled, and fear made him speechless. Murderous aura overflowing. The world of gods of destruction is like a 1,000-layer ice storage, freezing cold. Beerus was also frightened by this scene, so he quickly said, "Louis, don't mess around." Louis's move was truly unbelievable. The supreme erasure. Once Louis takes action, Quitella will completely disappear from this world. Perhaps only the legendary Super Shenron can revive Quitella. The consequences of killing a god of destruction are too great. Although he hated the dead mouse, no matter how much he hated it, he didn't dare to kill a god of destruction. Don't say that Beerus couldn't kill Quitella. It would be really easy for Beerus to kill this dead rat if he really wanted to. You have to know that Beerus' title of the first gods of destruction in Xeno universe is not undeserved. Whis flashed in front of Louis and advised, "Louis, don't mess around." Konnik is still shocked. How could someone know this? "Mr. Louis, please show mercy." Konnik came to his senses and spoke quickly. He should have dissuaded Quitella from attacking Louis earlier. But he still had a trace of doubt in his heart, wondering how could anyone in the world ignore any harm. Besides, it was just a sneak attack on a candidate gods of destruction. No matter how angry Beerus was, he would not do anything reckless. Konnik guessed correctly, Beerus really didn't dare to do anything rash. But the 7th universe's candidate gods of destruction are about to cause trouble. Kicking the steel plate. For a moment, everyone, including the old Supreme Kai, was trying to persuade Louis. Louis raised his right hand, unmoved, and looked at Quitella with a joking expression, "Even Grand Priest can't kill me, and you still dare to threaten me? Are you ready to die?" As soon as these words came out, the murderous aura at the scene seemed to solidify. "No, don't." Quitella's pupils shrank sharply. Others were horrified. Louis really wanted to kill Quitella. "Louis! Louis, don't!" Amid the confused looks of the crowd, Louis waved his right hand. The heaven and earth shook. White light burst out instantly, and the entire sky became as bright as day, so dazzling that people could not open their eyes. At this time, "Okay, Mr. Louis, please spare Master Quitella's life." A clear and pleasant voice spread throughout the entire gods of destruction world. An angel who looked like a little girl appeared in the air. She waved her staff, and the white light that Louis emitted suddenly dissipated. Only the little girl's hand holding the staff kept shaking, but it calmed down after a while. Puff! Suddenly, Louis half knelt on the ground and spurted out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Quitella, who was lying limp on the ground, had a murderous look in his eyes. Good opportunity. The next second, the murderous intent quickly disappeared. Quitella knew that Louis could ignore any attack, so he certainly couldn't kill Louis. "Louis! Louis, what's wrong with you?" Beerus and the old Supreme Kai quickly came to Louis and helped him up. They looked anxious. "Can't you ignore any attack?" Louis looked like an eggplant hit by frost, wilted and withered. "Sister, what did you do to Louis?" Whis looked at the girl in the sky and asked hurriedly. The person who came was none other than Grand Priest's eldest daughter, K.S. Kes frowned and said, "I didn't do anything to Mr. Louis. With his ignore physique, he shouldn't be hurt." After saying that, Kes waved her staff and a healing spell shot at Louis. Kes looked solemn. She released a healing spell, but Louis had not recovered yet. After releasing it 10 times in a row, Louis's complexion finally returned to normal. "I'm fine." Louis wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and got rid of the support of the old Supreme Kai and Beerus. The old Supreme Kai wanted to ask about erasure, but he still cared. "Louis, aren't you safe from harm?" Beerus asked hurriedly, "Did Miss Kurz hurt you?" "Kes. I told you not to do anything to him, okay?" Louis looked at Kurz in the sky, shook his head and said, "It wasn't Miss Kurz who hurt me." "Then why do you?" Whis wants to ask, "Then why are you hurt?" Louis interrupted Whis's question and said calmly, "Whis, let's go back to the 7th universe." He said nothing, and the murderous aura on his body disappeared. Everyone was stunned. "Didn't you just say you were going to kill Quitella? Why is everything all of a sudden fine?" "Quitella, who collapsed to the ground, breathed a sigh of relief, finally he survived. Etc. In the air, Kes looked closely at Lewis. Mr. Lewis, what is your relationship with Master Zeno? Chapter 43. Kes did not ask this question publicly, but whispered it secretly. Lewis frowned. Why would Chris ask that? Suddenly a light flashed through my mind. Isn't erase Zeno's move? It is very likely that Kes thought of this and asked this question. Lewis didn't say anything, just shook his head, meaning that Zeno and I have nothing to do with each other. Seeing this, Kes frowned and said, how could it be, my father clearly said. Before she finished speaking, Kes interrupted the voice transmission, looked at Lewis deeply, and then disappeared. Grand Priest said that it was okay for Lewis to do anything, but killing a gods of destruction was a bit serious. She came here because Grand Priest asked her to stop Lewis. Now that she has successfully stopped Lewis, she has completed her mission. Kes disappeared and Lewis stood there in a daze. Kes seemed to have mentioned Grand Priest just now. It seems that the Grand Priest knows his real identity, but isn't he just an ordinary Saiyan? Lewis is no longer confident. System, am I related to Zeno? Lewis felt itchy in his heart. This was the first time he took the initiative to ask the system. An electronic voice came from my mind, no, you are just an ordinary Saiyan. You have nothing to do with Zeno. The person Grand Priest is talking about is actually someone else, not you. Others? Who? The system fell silent. The corners of Lewis' mouth twitched violently. He aroused other people's curiosity and then kept them hanging, right? You bad system. Lewis didn't ask again. He didn't expect that the system would answer him this time. Fortunately, the system's answer confirmed that he had no relationship with Zeno. Finally, Lewis left the fourth universe under the leadership of Whis. In the fourth universe gods of destruction, only Quitella, Troy, and Cornic are left. Quitella stood up from the ground, his fists clenched and his face gloomy. He just kept looking at the place where Lewis disappeared without saying anything. Master Quitella, please find a chance to apologize to Mr. Lewis. Cornic said. He had too many doubts. His brothers and sisters had gone to Zeno Palace before, but he didn't. Something must have happened. Otherwise his elder sister wouldn't have come so quickly. Moreover, his eldest sister's attitude towards Lewis was also very strange, especially the expression on her face when she left at the end. Good. Quitella clenched his fists, his knuckles cracking. Cornic naturally noticed Quitella's expression, but didn't care. Quitella has indeed received a lot of insults in the past 2 days. First, he was blocked at home by Beerus. Then he was bullied and forced to work as Beerus' servant for 2 days. Now, he is being harshly stepped on and rubbed by a candidate gods of destruction. If it were him, Cornic wouldn't be able to stand it either. He ignored Quitella's expression and let him vent. Master Quitella, I'm going to go find my elder sister, you. Just let it all out for a bit. Cornic suddenly disappeared. After Cornic walked away for a while, Quitella still stood there, still staring at the place where Lewis disappeared before. I want you dead. Universe shuttles inside the cube. The expression of that dead mouse just now really made me laugh to death, ha 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 ha. Beerus was so happy that he danced with a smile on his face. Haha, let that damn rat sneak attack our candidate gods of destruction. The old Supreme Kai looked at Beerus and said, Skinny chops, you did a good job this time. Skinny ribs. Beerus stared at the old Supreme Kai, his voice rising in a nasal tone. It's over. The old Supreme Kai covered his mouth and accidentally said what he called Beerus in his mind. Beerus snorted, forget it. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let you go. The old Supreme Kai patted his chest and looked at Lewis. Lewis, when did you learn to erase? As soon as these words came out, Beerus and Whis looked at Lewis. The atmosphere inside the universe shuttle cube is a bit solemn. Lewis touched his nose and said, I just learned it not long ago. You just learned it recently. Whis shook his head, erasure is not a move, but a collection of rules. It was named law by the priest. If one wants to use it, one must understand various rules and finally fuse them together. Whis looked at Lewis and said, even for us angels, many people can't do this in their entire lives. Do you understand? Lewis looked at Whis and wanted to speak, but he didn't know how to explain. All right. Beerus stood in front of Lewis, then turned around and looked at Lewis. Lewis, will you endanger the 7th universe? Beerus' voice was extremely serious and his expression was solemn. The old Supreme Kai had never seen Beerus like this before. The 7th universe is my home. Louis didn't hesitate and blurted out. Hear this. Beerus smiled. Old Supreme Kai also laughed. Whis was stunned at first, then he started laughing too. They have got their answer and are satisfied with it. Beerus was in a good mood and asked, by the way, Louis, why did you vomit blood just now? The old Supreme Kai was also confused. Aren't you able to ignore any damage? Why are you vomiting blood? Do you think I can erase it with my current strength? Louis said speechlessly, I am just being stubborn and I am forcing myself to vomit blood. It's not even close to the power of God, so it's really impossible to erase it. Whis nodded, he finally figured out the key. Obviously, Louis was hit back, and it was not someone else who hurt him. No wonder he vomited so much blood. No wonder his elder sister had to perform healing spells more than a dozen times before the boy recovered. Beerus and the old Supreme Kai also figured it out, and laughed while covering their mouths. You never even thought about killing Quitella, you've been scaring him, right? They were frightened by the murderous aura that Louis exuded before, and they all believed it, thinking that Louis really wanted to kill Quitella. If you know it, why are you still telling it out? Louis rolled his eyes. It was not that easy to kill a gods of destruction who had touched the 5th level of the god realm. But Beerus was wrong. Louis had murderous intentions towards Quitella from the beginning to the end. He wasn't trying to scare Quitella either. If it wasn't for Kes coming out to stop him, he could have really killed that damn rat just now. Everyone laughed when they heard Louis' answer. The atmosphere inside the cube became cheerful. Soon, the universe shuttle cube will return to the 7th universe. At this time, Whis, has your elder sister's power reached the level of a priest? Chapter 44. Power Division, 5 levels of God Realm, 3 levels of Angel Realm, Priest Realm, and Xeno Realm. What Louis knew was that all the candidates for gods of destruction were at the 2nd level of the God Realm. As for the gods of destruction, except Beerus who is in the 5th level of the God Realm, the other gods of destruction are in the 4th level of the God Realm. As for the angels, Louis doesn't know what level they are yet. Louis looked closely at Whis. Old Supreme Kai and Beerus also looked at Whis. The atmosphere in the shuttle cube was a little subtle. The main reason was that before, Chris caught Louis's erasure with his bare hands, and the scene was too shocking. Why are you asking that? Whis was looked at by 3 people and felt a little helpless. I feel that Miss Kurz's power is not simple. The others didn't know what was going on, but Louis knew that the erasure he had just condensed was enough to kill Quitella. Even Angel might not be able to withstand that power. The fact that Kes was able to interrupt him was enough to show how extraordinary she was. Whis was silent. The cube became quiet and deserted. Seeing that Whis didn't say anything, Beerus swallowed and said, Whis, could it be that your elder sister's power has really reached the level of a priest? The old Supreme Kai also knows how powerful the priest level power is. If this is true, then Xeno universe will be prosperous. Have no idea. After a while, Whis finally spoke, don't look at me like that, I really don't know. Whis didn't look at the 3 people, but looked at the dark space outside the cube and said, I only know that my eldest sister is the strongest among all my brothers and sisters. I can no longer sense her current strength. Maybe she has reached that level. Boom. This news is shocking. The things I encountered today were really shocking one after another. Beerus and the old Supreme Kai were stunned. Louis was equally shocked. It seemed that the little kid must have reached the level of a priest, no wonder he was able to stop him from attacking. After returning to the 10th universe, KS sneezed suddenly. She didn't know that someone was talking about her as a little kid behind her back. At this time, she saw Konik coming to her side. The shuttle cube flew into the 7th universe. Whis first took the old Supreme Kai back to the Supreme Kai world, and then went back to the Gods of Destruction world. Back at the old Supreme Kai, he is chased by Sin and asked how things are going. Sin is very anxious, because his life is now linked to Beerus. If Beerus does something wrong and Xeno blames Beerus, he will not be able to escape. The old Supreme Kai finally slowly spoke about what happened in the 4th universe. After hearing this, Sin became extremely excited. Louis is so strong. Louis is the candidate gods of destruction of the 7th universe. The stronger Louis is, the more beneficial it is to the 7th universe. Gods of Destruction World. It's been almost a day, why hasn't Lewis come back yet? Taisai sat by the lake, holding her cheek, in a daze. When Lewis left, he looked very anxious. Something must have happened. Swish. A voice sounded, followed by a familiar voice, Taisi, I'm back. Tais turned her head sharply and said happily, Lewis. Lewis suddenly appeared in front of Tais and hugged her tightly with his strong arms. Is everything settled? Well, it's solved. Lewis rubbed Tais's little head and smelled her faint body fragrance, feeling at ease. That's good. Taisai smiled foolishly. Lewis' chest was strong, and she felt safe being held in his arms, something she had never experienced before when sailing in the universe. Suddenly she saw Beerus was staring at her intently. Taisai's little face suddenly turned red, her ears felt hot, and she buried her whole head in Lewis' arms. Lewis noticed Taisai's actions and couldn't help but look at Beerus and the others, and couldn't help but twitch his lips. Okay, my wife is getting shy after looking at her like that, so please leave now if you have nothing to do. Tisk, who wants to see you two being affectionate? Taisai, I'm hungry. Beerus looked at Taisai pitifully. He hadn't eaten Taisai's cooking for 2 or 3 days. He was craving for it. Whis nodded frantically, Tais, I'm hungry too. Tais crawled out of Lewis' arms, her little face still red, like a ripe apple. I'll cook it for you right away. Tais left here shyly. Looking at Tais's shy appearance, Lewis felt very happy at the moment. Lord Beerus, you won't go to Earth to eat. How dare you let Taisai cook for you every day? You are my disciple, there is nothing to be embarrassed about. Beerus laughed, I didn't expect you to actually capture Taisai. Whis snickered at the side, I told you there was something wrong with them. Beerus curled his lips and snorted, everyone knows that. Lewis drew 2 black lines across the door. These 2 idiots. At this time, Beerus suddenly spoke again, his tone changed, Lewis, you should be careful recently. Quitella is not a man who will suffer losses. He may secretly cause trouble for you. This time he made Quitella work as a servant for 2 days and insulted Quitella severely. Quitella did not fight back, so he was right. Beerus and Quitella are old rivals, so Beerus has a say in Quitella's personality. Beerus himself was prepared to be in trouble. Just him. Lewis disagreed, with my physique and my ability to erase, maybe that damn rat will be scared silly by my erasure, how dare he come to trouble me. That's what you said. Beerus nodded, agreeing with him. If Lewis had used erase on him at that time, he would have been scared to death on the spot and would not have dared to cause trouble for Lewis afterwards. Everyone returned to the Gods of Destruction world, and the Gods of Destruction world became lively again. In the following days, Beerus' daily life changed a little. Apart from eating and drinking every day, Beerus would disappear with Whis the rest of the time. Lewis and Tais were very surprised and asked Beerus what he was doing. Beerus said, Lewis, you are not afraid of Quitella, but I am afraid that Quitella will take revenge on my 7th universe. After all, Beerus was still afraid that Quitella would come to the 7th universe to cause trouble. So he patrols the universe with Whis every day. Lewis thought about it and realized that this was indeed the case. He is not afraid of wearing shoes when he is barefoot. No, it should be said that they are fearless. No one can hurt him, so Lewis naturally has nothing to fear, but the 7th universe is different. The 7th universe is so vast that if someone causes trouble, neither Beerus nor Whis will be able to arrive in time. Beerus also knew this, but he had no other choice but to do this. Lewis felt a little bit sorry when he saw this, so he asked Beerus if he wanted him to go to the 4th universe to destroy Quitella, so that Lord Beerus wouldn't have to work so hard. Beerus and Whis were shocked and quickly refused. They no longer doubted Lewis's strength, even though Lewis had previously explained that he was just showing off. But who knows if he really can't use erase? If Lewis can use this trick, Quitella will definitely die. If Gods of Destruction dies, Supreme Kai will die too. Gods of Destruction and Supreme Kai are the foundation of a universe. If the two die, it will have a huge impact on the universe. It's not that the alternate Gods of Destruction can't inherit the position of Gods of Destruction. It's useless to have a new Gods of Destruction but no new Supreme Kai. You should know that there is no substitute Supreme Kai in the 4th universe. Without a new Supreme Kai, the 4th universe will be stuck in a situation that has not been created for tens of millions of years. In this way, the 4th universe will be completely useless. Once the 4th universe is abolished, Xeno universe will have one less universe. Therefore, even if the Gods of Destruction have grudges against each other, they cannot kill each other. Besides, Zeno had originally ordered that masters at the level of gods of destruction could not fight each other. It can be said that the death of gods of destruction is directly related to the structure of Zeno universe. Only Zeno is qualified to divide the Zeno universe. Others cannot participate. This is also the reason why Chris tried to stop Lewis from erasing Quitella. Lewis finally knew the truth, and now he couldn't help Beerus. Chapter 45. Earth. Time passed, and 2 months went by. It has been 2 months since Burdock, King Vegeta, Emberbert, and Theodore came to Earth from Namek. Lewis did not reappear, and they did not leave Earth. After all, it is very inconvenient to take a spaceship back to the galactic headquarters. It is estimated that it will take a year to go back. Sato Wasteland. Boom. The entire wasteland was covered by 2 terrifying forces. 2 red figures were flying across the sky, occasionally colliding with each other, making earth-shaking resonance sounds. Fortunately, both of them were holding back when fighting, and although the ground in the wasteland was bumpy, the earth was not actually seriously damaged. Kakarot, take my punch. A red figure transformed into a red dragon and roared towards Son Goku in the sky. Vegeta, come on. In the sky, Son Goku grinned, fighting with Vegeta. He was full of passion and blood boiling. Clench your fists. He punched the oncoming Vegeta. Bang. The air squeezed together, making a terrifying sonic boom. The powerful force knocked Vegeta back hundreds of meters. Son Goku also retreated more than 10 meters, looking at his fist. The pain was transmitted to the nerve center, a little uncomfortable. I didn't expect that you would become so powerful after being resurrected from the dead. Son Goku laughed as he moved quickly, flashing across the sky. In an instant, countless shadows appeared in the void. Stop mocking people. Vegeta gritted his teeth, flew into the air, and smashed Son Goku's clone with one punch. No wonder Vegeta was so angry. Vegeta resurrected from death and his power broke through to 3.5 million combat power. Now Kaioken has been amplified 10 times, and its power has exceeded 35 million. Despite this, Vegeta still cannot beat Son Goku, who also has 10 Kaioken. Because Son Goku's normal strength is 5 million, and with an increase of 10 Kaioken, he has a combat power of 50 million. It's not that they are completely unable to win. With 35 million combat forces against 50 million combat forces, there is still a possibility of a battle. But Son Goku's fighting style is very strange. Every punch and kick is very natural. Describe it in 2 words, smart. There is a gap in strength and fighting style, which makes Vegeta a little difficult to cope with. Hateful. Vegeta blasted another clone of Son Goku. Suddenly I had a bad feeling. Turn your head suddenly. Son Goku hovered behind him with a grin. When? Vegeta's pupils shrank sharply. It's not a good habit to be distracted during a fight. Son Goku raised his foot and swept it across, hitting Vegeta's abdomen. Under the powerful impact, Vegeta screamed in pain and his whole body flew straight into the sky. Son Goku tensed his body and flew towards the sky. Boom. If he loses focus for a moment, Vegeta will be in a passive situation. There will be constant collision sounds and Vegeta's shouting in the sky. On the ground, 4 figures stood still, looking up at the sky. King Vegeta said in disbelief, Burdock, your son is too powerful. Burdock was in a good mood, ha ha ha, King Vegeta isn't bad either. Bibbert and Theodore wiped the sweat from their faces. These 2 young masters were too scary. Imagine if Vegeta or Son Goku punched them. Shiver. Bibbert and the other man shuddered violently, then decided to give up. Burdock, it turns out that when our Saiyan are resurrected from death, their powers will be greatly enhanced. King Vegeta exclaimed, not just Vegeta, I have you, Bibbert, and Theodore as well. Burdock looked at the 2 men fighting in the sky and nodded, yes, we Saiyans have changed a lot in the past 10 years. This time he rose from the dead. Vegeta's combat power reaches 3.5 million. King Vegeta breaks through to 1 million combat power. Burdock breaks through to 2 million combat power. Bibbert and Theodore broke through to 600,000 combat power. King Vegeta, do you want to have a fight too? Burdock looked up at the sky and his blood began to boil. Wouldn't it be asking for trouble if I fought with you? King Vegeta pouted, he didn't like being abused like his son did. Don't wait, he and his son will be beaten by the other 2 father and son, that would be hilarious. Tisk, that's boring. Bardock took off into the air and flew back westward. He was no longer interested in the outcome of the next battle between Son Goku and Vegeta, as his son would surely win this time as well. Sudden. A terrifying pressure came from the sky. The golden light was radiant, and the clouds were dyed into golden marshmallows. Boom! Vegeta turned into a cannonball and slammed down to the ground. Boom! The ground was torn into pieces. Bardock, who was about to leave, stopped in a hurry and looked up at the sky. I saw a golden figure falling from the sky. Blonde. The arrogance is golden. The powerful momentum is overwhelming. King Vegeta, Bibert and Theodore were stunned at this. Super Saiyan. King Vegeta Super Saiyan. Theodore and Bibert grabbed King Vegeta by the collar and shook him madly. I see it, I see it. King Vegeta's head was shaken until he felt dizzy. Chapter 46. At this moment, a disheveled figure crawled out of the deep pit on the ground. I knew the legend of Super Saiyan was true, but I'm really angry. Vegeta was lying on the ground, looking at the golden figure in the sky, feeling a little bitter in his heart. He is obviously the Saiyan Prince. How can a low-level warrior transform into the Saiyan legend? Bardock in midair quickly flew back and flew to Son Goku. Kakarot, are you a Super Saiyan in this state? Bardock stuttered, he was so excited. King Vegeta and the other two also flew over and looked at Son Goku with longing faces. Son Goku was hovering in the air, unmoved, his whole body exuding an evil aura. He swept his cold eyes around the crowd. Gurgle. Everyone slid their throats, and Son Goku's powerful pressure made everyone take a few steps back. How come Son Goku seems like a different person? Haha, this is the Super Saiyan that Lewis mentioned. I didn't know. Can you guys take a look and see if it's true? Son Goku had been trying to transform into a Super Saiyan before he fought Vegeta. After 2 months of continuous attempts, there was still no success. Today, when I was sparring with Vegeta, I somehow succeeded in transforming as soon as I thought about it. It turns out that Son Goku is just like in the anime, he can never transform again after his first transformation. It was not until after a period of practice that he was able to successfully transform. As Son Goku chuckled. This smile instantly dispelled the evil aura in him. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, mainly because Son Goku's cold eyes just now were so evil that it made people's scalps tingle. Right. King Vegeta flew beside Son Goku and looked him up and down, becoming more and more excited the more he looked. Yes, it is this state. Bardock went straight forward and groped his son. Blonde. Ha ha ha, Kakarot, you really didn't lie. Bardock was so excited. Who could have thought that the legend circulating in the clan would come true in his son? At this time, Vegeta flew up from the ground and asked hurriedly, Kakarot, how strong are you now? He was hit by a punch just now, and the terrifying force almost killed him on the spot. Fortunately, Son Goku finally unloaded the force. I feel like it's about 10 times more powerful than using 10 Kaioken. Son Goku snapped his fingers and smiled foolishly. 10 times more powerful than Kaioken with amplification 10. Oh my goodness! Everyone's eyes widened, they had no idea that Son Goku was actually a math genius. Kakarot, teach me how to transform. Vegeta no longer cared about his pride, he put aside his dignity and begged Son Goku. Suddenly, the air became deathly silent. When had Bardock and the others ever seen Vegeta show such an attitude? He was the arrogant son of King Vegeta. Especially King Vegeta, who knows his son's character very well. Now, in order to transform into a Super Saiyan, he is actually groveling. When everyone seemed to have seen a ghost. What are you talking about? At this time, a voice was heard. Everyone turned their heads sharply. A man wearing Gods of Destruction costume appeared next to him, holding a woman. Lewis, you're back. Son Goku was very excited and came to Lewis. Look, I can finally transform into a Super Saiyan again. Louise held ties in her arms and understood what Son Goku meant. Not bad. It only took 2 months for you to master the transformation technique. I have to say that Son Goku is very talented. If he didn't have the system, if it were him, he wouldn't be able to master Super Saiyan as long as Son Goku. After hearing what Lewis said, Bardock thought for a moment and said weakly, Lewis, can you also transform into a Super Saiyan? Lewis had never transformed into a Super Saiyan in front of everyone, and Son Goku and others couldn't help but look at Lewis closely. All right. Crash. Louis' hair instantly turned golden, and he became as evil as Son Goku. When Taisai, who was in his arms, saw this, her eyes suddenly lit up. Same hair color as her. So handsome. You can do it too. Vegeta's mouth dropped open, he knew Louis must be very powerful, otherwise he wouldn't be able to be the alternate gods of destruction. But Super Saiyan is the legend of the Saiyan clan. There has never been a Super Saiyan before, how come they appear all of a sudden now? Fortunately, Louis is a superior warrior and a candidate for gods of destruction. Vegeta can accept that Louis can transform. But why can Son Goku, a low-level warrior, also transform? Really angry. Everyone was shocked by Louis's move. Louis, please teach me how to transform into a Super Saiyan. Vegeta said. As soon as Vegeta spoke, Bardock and the others also responded. Louis, please teach us how to transform into Super Saiyan. If they can also become Super Saiyan, then the Saiyan clan will be invincible in the universe. King Vegeta and Bardock understand this very well. Kakarot can teach you, just go find him, I don't have that much time. Louis looked at King Vegeta and the others, you have been away from the Galactic Patrol headquarters for a long time. The tribesmen are waiting for you. It's almost time for you to go back. Yes. They have been on Earth for 2 months, and including the time it took to travel to Namek, it has been almost half a year. Then let's go back to the Super Saiyan matter. When Kakarot can learn instant transmission like me, he can come to you anytime. Louis glanced at King Vegeta and said calmly, Frieza is dead, and his men are no longer a threat. I still say that. I won't care about Saiyan's affairs. Whatever you become has nothing to do with me. I am a candidate gods of destruction. Louis's voice was a little cold, but it was not offensive to everyone's ears. They already know the cause and effect. Louis is an alternate gods of destruction. The real gods of destruction originally wanted to kill the Saiyan clan, but the Saiyans were able to survive only because of Louis's presence. The alternate gods of destruction must follow the will of the real gods of destruction. Louis couldn't be blamed for not being able to interfere too much in mortal affairs. The Emperor of the Universe, Frieza, actually died at the hands of us Saiyans. It's a bit surreal to think about it. King Vegeta's voice sighed, who would have thought that our Saiyan legends are true? Chapter 47. Bardock nodded, we have indeed been away from the Galactic Patrol headquarters for a long time. It is time to return. Okay then, I'll take you back now. When Kakarot learns instant transmission, I can come find you. Louis was ready to take them back. Bardock continued to ask, Louis, do we have a chance to become Super Saiyan? Bibert and Theodore pricked up their ears. Vegeta and his son moved closer. Louis was silent. Everyone held their breath and were very nervous. It was obvious that they also wanted to transform. You all should have a chance. Louis observed everyone and spoke slowly. In order to transform into a Super Saiyan, enough S cells in the body must be activated. Secondly, you must have a certain basic combat power. Vegeta can definitely transform into a Super Saiyan, there is no doubt about that. King Vegeta and Bardock's power broke through to over 1 million combat power. Bibert and Theodore also have a combat power of 600,000. In general, their talents are very good. Even if they cannot transform for the time being, they will definitely be able to transform once their strength reaches the required level. Real. Bardock said delightedly. King Vegeta clenched his fists and asked nervously, can we, too? Yes, both are fine. Louis smiled. Bibert and Theodore hugged each other and laughed. Vegeta raised the corner of his mouth slightly and glanced proudly at Son Goku next to him. It seems to be saying, just wait, once I successfully transform, I will beat you up. Son Goku just bared his teeth and ignored everything. Vegeta's face turned dark, what a fool. Okay, I'll take you back first. Finally, Louis brought King Vegeta and others back to the Galactic Patrol headquarters. As for Vegeta, he and Bulma were already together, and Earth was his new home, so he did not return to the tribe. Heavenly Temple. After Louis took King Vegeta and the others back, he also took Ties back home and came here alone. The gods were watching the lower world from the edge of heaven. When they saw Louis, they stepped forward and said respectfully, meet the candidate gods of destruction. Bobo next to him also saluted. Louis had been to heaven several times before but had never seen the mysterious Bobo. This was the first time he saw him. Let's not talk about other things for now. Bobo is really black, just like a piece of charcoal. Bobo touched his face and said calmly, Sir, alternate gods of destruction, is there something on my face? No. The corners of Louis' mouth twitched slightly, and he looked at the gods again. God, I want to borrow your spiritual time house again. No problem, I'll let Bobo take you there. The god nodded. In fact, he had a doubt. Louis had entered the spiritual time chamber once before and stayed in it for more than 10 years. Why wasn't Louis trapped inside? Under the puzzled eyes of the gods, Louis followed Bobo into the temple. Walking on the corridor, Louis looked at Bobo's back and couldn't help but ask, Bobo, do you know Grand Priest? I don't know him. Bobo didn't look back and continued walking forward without any pause in his body movements. As if telling the truth. The saying the calm and peaceful well was fully demonstrated by Bobo. Louis shook his head. He didn't believe that Bobo didn't know Grand Priest. Soon, they arrived in front of the spirit time house and Louis walked in. Bobo looked at Louis' back, nodded, and then left. Inside the spirit time house. It was all white, but it was still a familiar environment. The last time Louis came here was to break through to the divine dimension. As a result, after practicing for more than 10 years, he still failed to break through, just one step away from success. Finally, thanks to the system's sign-in task, Louis broke through to the divine dimension. This time, Louis came here to practice erase. Louis' power is still too weak, and he is now facing a small Karami like Frieza. Rather, they are characters at the level of gods of destruction or even angel. Especially since he had offended that dead rat recently, even Beerus was on guard against him all day long, and Louis was a little afraid of being attacked from behind. Although thanks to immunity, Louis is fearless. But getting beaten is not his style. Erasure is his most powerful trump card so far. The last time he used it, he almost lost his life. It was obvious that his strength was too weak to support the use of erase. Not even a prototype. This time, Louis entered the spiritual time chamber to cultivate his strength and allow his strength to break through to the realm of God in order to support erasure. In addition, Louis came to the spirit time house for another purpose. He seemed to sense other rules from erasure. Whis said before that erasure is not a move, but a collection of destruction, creation, time, space, light, darkness, all kinds of rules. The system's sign-in task allowed him to obtain erase, which was done in one step. He could perform erase without having to comprehend various rules. It's okay now. He seemed to be receiving a reward in return, and could sense other rules from erasure. Louis is now like taking an exam, he can get full marks directly without learning the basics. Then I received feedback and learned the basic knowledge from the full score state. Go the other way. So exaggerated. Then start training your strength first. After training your strength, you can comprehend other rules. When I come out of seclusion, I will go and cause trouble for other universes. Louis put on the weighted clothes Whis gave him and began to practice. Another space in Xeno universe. The sky here is grey, dark forest, icy lake. It looks very depressing. A purple light flashed in the dark forest. He was wearing a black cloak and a mask. By the lake. There is already a figure standing here. You're here. Demi-cooler, what do you think? My conditions should be very sincere. I'll help you kill the 7th universe's candidate gods of destruction, and then you'll help us collect the Super Dragon Balls. That does sound very sincere. At the lakeside, Demi-cooler looked at the figure in strange clothes in front of him and said jokingly, however, with your strength, you should be able to kill him easily. Let's do it now. Could it be? Humph, Beerus is protecting him, so I can't do anything. Beerus. Demi-cooler frowned. This was indeed a tricky guy. Tell me, how about this deal? Okay, I promise. Demi-cooler said coldly, I will help you kill the 7th universe's candidate gods of destruction, and you will help me collect the Super Dragon Balls. If you dare to break your promise, you will regret it. I mean what I say. Don't worry. Here is the information about the candidate gods of destruction. It also includes the method to deal with him. Be careful not to fall into the trap. After saying that, the black figure threw a note to Demi-cooler and then disappeared. The next second, a woman with a charming figure appeared next to Demi-cooler. Tova covered her mouth and laughed, Master Demi-cooler, why do you think Quitella wears such strange clothes? Does he really think that others can't recognize him? Who knows? Demi-Cooler's face was full of black lines. Tova finished laughing and then asked seriously, "Can you believe what Quitella said? He doesn't dare to lie to us. I'll give you the notebook. Remember to do things well." "Yes." Chapter 48. The Fourth Universe, the World of Gods of Destruction. Angel Cornic came back from the 10th universe, his face full of shock. The main reason was that what his eldest sister said to him was so shocking. From the 10th universe all the way back to the 4th universe, I couldn't calm down my emotions. Suddenly I saw Quitella falling from the sky. "Master Quitella, where are you going?" "We went to destroy a few planets," Quitella said calmly, with his hands behind his back. Cornic nodded. It was normal for Quitella to vent his anger after being greatly insulted. But Cornic looked at Quitella seriously and said, "Master Quitella, let's just forget about your relationship with the candidate gods of destruction from the 7th universe." "Never mind." Quitella frowned, "Didn't you go to see your eldest sister? Did Miss Kess say something? He suffered such a great humiliation, and yet he just let it go? Impossible." He had been lying in front of Louis and observing closely, and had discovered that the erasure performed by Louis was not the real erasure. Although the aura is very similar, the real erasure is definitely not something that can be performed by someone who can't even reach the power of a god. That kid probably only understood a little bit of the basics. It was just a little bit of technology, but when that guy used it, he almost lost half his life. If you want revenge, you must do it before he grows up. And he also thought of a countermeasure, and gave the method to deal with Louis to Demi-Cooler. "Master Quitella, please listen to my advice. He is not someone you can." Cornic wasn't done yet. "No." Quitella curled his lips and walked away. Looking at Quitella's back, Cornic shook his head. According to his eldest sister, Louis is likely to have a relationship with Zeno. No one knows about Quitella and Demi-Cooler's conspiracy. Ever since the last competition incident, the gods of destruction in Zeno universe have suddenly gone quiet. The gods of destruction no longer dared to mock the 7th universe, and were even a little afraid of it. After all, Louis once said, "If you come to cause trouble for my 7th universe, then just wait for me to cause trouble for you." Louis's talent is obvious to all, and being remembered by such a person really makes him feel uneasy. The gods of destruction now train their candidate gods of destruction every day. Otherwise, when Louis really comes, their heir may not last 2 rounds, which would be a huge embarrassment. As for the 7th universe, Beerus still patrols the universe every day. He was on guard against Quitella coming to the 7th universe to cause trouble. As a result, after 2 months of patrolling, there was no movement from Quitella. For this purpose, Beerus made a special trip to the 4th universe. When Quitella and Beerus met, it was originally thought that it would be another bloody clash. As a result, Quitella was not angry at all when facing Beerus, and was even happy to invite Beerus to have delicious food. This made Beerus' scalp tingle. When did this damn rat become so kind? There must be a conspiracy. After observing for a long time, Beerus did not notice any inappropriate behavior from Quitella. Finally, Beerus had to return to the 7th universe. Inside the Spirit Time House. 5 years passed. A handsome figure was doing push-ups. He was wearing a bulky gravity suit, and his clothes were soaked with sweat. 9999998. 9999999. 10000000. Louis gritted his teeth, finished the last push-up, and fell to the ground completely. The intense exercise left him exhausted and his body was cramping. Louis endured tremendous pain, but the effect of his hard training was amazing. Boom! The potential in the body is activated, and waves of power surge out from deep within the body like a flood. After resting for half a day, my tired cells were relieved and the severe pain in my body was alleviated a little. Louis was finally able to move again, feeling the strength in his body. Drink! He clenched his fists and shouted. Crash! The golden flames rolled, with Louis as the center, spreading out in all directions like a tide. A flash of golden light passed by. Super Saiyan. The power of the spirit is amplified by the Super Saiyan state, becoming 50 times stronger. Crack! A cracking sound was heard, breaking through the shackles. The power reaches the realm of God. Boom! As if a volcano erupted, the entire spiritual time house world was shaking. Louis was like an ancient god of war, his whole body glowing with golden light, and he was extremely imposing. The incomparable force is squeezing in the void, forming a vacuum zone. Ha-hoo, ha-hoo. Lewis exited the Super Saiyan state, breathing heavily. My power has finally broken through to the first level of the God realm. I have been practicing for 5 years. Just to cultivate strength to the divine level. At this moment, if Lewis meets the group of substitute gods of destruction again, he will finally not be beaten. It's even qualified to compete with gods of destruction. Lewis originally wanted to continue practicing, because he had only achieved one of his goals of entering the spiritual time house. Another goal of understanding the power of other rules has not yet been put into action. But I remembered one thing. He had told King Vegeta and the others before that he would let Son Goku teach them how to transform into Super Saiyan when the time comes. As for how Son Goku goes to the Galactic Patrol headquarters, he must first learn instant transmission. According to the plot of Dragon Ball, after the explosion of Namek, Son Goku will also learn instant transmission on the planet Yardrat. However, due to his interference, Son Goku only transformed into a Super Saiyan but was unable to learn instant transmission. That won't work. Lewis had to temporarily stop comprehending other rules and walk out of the spiritual time house. Open it for me. Lewis yelled. The powerful sound waves created a hole in the spiritual time chamber and he jumped in. Outside the Temple of Heaven, Tien Shen and Bobo stood beside the celestial square, looking at the two people in the center of the square. Popo, Son Goku, and Vegeta, what are they doing? Son Goku is teaching Vegeta how to transform into a Super Saiyan. Popo said calmly. Super Saiyan? The blonde one? When the god was puzzled, a figure suddenly walked out of the temple. The god stepped forward and said respectfully, alternate gods of destruction, you are here. Lewis nodded, looked at the two people in the middle of the square, and asked in confusion, what are they doing? The god said, Popo said Son Goku is teaching Vegeta how to transform into a Super Saiyan. What did Bobo say? Lewis turned his head and looked at Bobo next to the square. Bobo still had a calm expression, without any emotional fluctuations. Chapter 49. Shaking his head, Lewis walked towards the center of the square. Vegeta, you need anger to transform into a Super Saiyan. I was so angry that I broke through all at once. Angry? I'm already very angry, but why can't I transform? Kakarot, you're not lying to me, are you? Why would I lie to you? Think of something that can make you angry and see if you can break through. The two were talking. Son Goku saw Lewis coming out and said happily, Lewis, you're out. Son Goku pulled Vegeta and walked over to Lewis. Lewis, I said that you need to be angry to transform into a Super Saiyan, but Vegeta doesn't believe me. Vegeta looked at Lewis and frowned, is what Kakarot said true? Yes, it takes extreme anger to transform into a Super Saiyan. Extreme anger? But I've thought about all the things that can make me angry, and I can't change anything. Vegeta was helpless. During the time Lewis was training, he always let Son Goku teach him. He also did as Son Goku said and let his anger fuel him, but it didn't work. You can't enter a state of extreme anger. Lewis thought for a moment, then looked at Vegeta with a playful expression, let me try. It should feel good to curse people. Especially scolding this arrogant second in command. Will you help me enter extreme rage? Then let's try it. Vegeta was really helpless. Hearing this, Lewis smiled happily, as if he had thought of something happy. That's what you said. Sudden. Lewis' face straightened. Vegeta and Son Goku were startled by Lewis' serious expression. Lewis didn't speak, and neither did Vegeta and Son Goku. The heaven just became quiet and the atmosphere was a bit weird. Lewis stared at Vegeta for a long time, and finally uttered two words, waste, waste. Vegeta was very sensitive to these two words. For a moment, his chest heaved and he felt very angry. But he knew that it was Lewis who was provoking him, and he was mentally prepared, so his anger disappeared. Son Goku noticed this and shook his head. It did cause some emotional fluctuations in Vegeta at first, but it was still a little off. Vegeta, you're a piece of shit. As a son of King Vegeta, you can't even protect your own planet. Where were you when Frieza destroyed your planet? You were being hunted by Frieza's army. You are such a proud Saiyan prince that you have been hunted for more than 10 years. You have to rely on Kakarot to have the chance to meet Frieza. If you're not trash, what are you? Lewis became more and more excited as he spoke. It was so cool to curse the old man that he couldn't stop. A string of insults entered his ears, and Vegeta's forehead swelled with anger. House entrance. You can say whatever you want, but when it comes to relying on Son Goku for the chance to face Frieza, that's a little too much to bear. Vegeta's eyes turned red and his knuckles cracked. Son Goku's eyes lit up. He didn't expect Lewis to be so capable. From the looks of it, Vegeta is likely to successfully transform into a Super Saiyan. However, Vegeta's anger was slowly dissipating because his psychological suggestion had taken effect and he knew that Lewis was deliberately provoking him. Seeing this, Son Goku looked anxious and wanted to ask Lewis to continue. Lewis' mouth corners slightly raised. Why rush? The real King Bomb has not yet begun. He stood in front of Vegeta and yelled, if you're not trash, what are you? Have you surpassed Kakarot once since you came to Earth? In terms of combat power, Kakarot will always be stronger than you. Kakarot can learn Spirit Bomb, can you? Kakarot is a low-level warrior, but he can transform into a Super Saiyan. Can you do it? Boom. The feeling of shame invaded Vegeta's body, his whole face turned red and his whole body was shaking. Shut up, I told you to shut up. The residence. Lewis pointed his finger at Vegeta's chest, you, a Saiyan prince, are not even as good as a low-level warrior. You, a piece of waste. It's not over yet. Lewis raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said, you rubbish, you are only worthy of being a 1,000-year-old second in command. Critical hit. I am the second in the millennium. Vegeta pointed at himself, his face flushed and his ears felt hot. The shame made him feel so embarrassed. What a shame. Boom. Vegeta couldn't hold it in any longer and was furious. A powerful force exploded in him. The world is eclipsed. The white flame began to carry a hint of golden light. Son Goku and Lewis jumped to the side, and Son Goku could tell at a glance that Vegeta was about to transform into a Super Saiyan. Lewis, you really stimulated Vegeta to transform, you are so amazing. It's no big deal. Lewis smiled. Lewis knew what Vegeta cared about. Son Goku is his lifelong enemy. He longs to surpass Son Goku, but he has never been able to do so. The same is true in anime, so he is called the eternal second place by others. Lewis put the matter directly on the table. Not to mention that Vegeta couldn't stand it, if he were Vegeta, his reaction would be even more exaggerated than Vegeta's. You know what, it feels so good to scold this 1,000-year-old second-rate guy. Boom. Violent power overflows and thunder rumbles from the sky. The heavens are shaking. Vegeta's hair starts to shimmer. One gold and one black. The frequency is getting faster and faster. It's almost done. As Son Goku exclaimed, golden light burst out from Vegeta's body and flashed away. Super Saiyan. Vegeta's power increased 50 times, from 3.5 million combat power to 175 million combat power. The third Super Saiyan of the Saiyan family has finally appeared. I'm going to kill you. Vegeta stared at Lewis intently, and he moved. Disappeared in an instant. Lewis chuckled and said, you just transformed and you think you can fight me. The 1,000-year-old second is swollen. Lewis also dodged and disappeared on the spot. Son Goku clenched his fists, not expecting something good to happen. Bang! Bang! There was a collision sound in the void. Just a few seconds. Vegeta's scream of pain was heard. Ah! Vegeta, do you still dare to attack me? I don't dare anymore, I don't dare anymore. Next second. Vegeta suddenly appeared from the void and fell to the ground in a mess like a dead dog. Vegeta, just don't mess with me, ha ha ha. Lewis hovered in the air, laughing happily. Damn it. I'll dare you next time. Vegeta, lying on the ground, looked up at the sky, feeling extremely frustrated. He had transformed into a Super Saiyan, but he still couldn't beat Lewis. But others are substitute gods of destruction, it's normal that you can't beat them. Only I was insulted and beaten up, I was so angry. Seeing this, Son Goku stood aside and laughed. He didn't know why, but he felt very happy when he saw Vegeta getting beaten. A farce ended. Lewis finally suggested to Son Goku that he should learn instant transmission. Hearing this, Vegeta quickly got up from the ground and said that he wanted to learn it too. Lewis naturally had no objection. Instant transmission was a very useful secret skill whether in escape or in combat. I just don't know if Vegeta can learn it. After all, in the anime, Vegeta doesn't know this trick. Ding! the mission is released. Please sign in front of Towa. Reward, Super Saiyan Full Power. Chapter 50. On the Temple of Heaven. Louis was slightly stunned. Son Goku asked, Louis, what's wrong with you? Vegeta also looked at Louis with a puzzled look. Nothing. Louis shook his head. Towa. The system just issued a sign-in task, asking him to sign in front of Towa, which surprised him a little. Nice rewards though. Super Saiyan Full Power, it is different from ordinary Super Saiyan, its consumption is much smaller. When he transformed into Super Saiyan and broke through to the first level of God Realm, that state was really exhausting. Fortunately, Louis' dimension has broken through to the divine level, and divine power has been generated in his body. The divine power can nourish the body well. This makes it easier for him to maintain his Super Saiyan state. But the consumption is still huge. He has no problem fighting against others one-on-one, but if he fights against 10 gods of destruction candidates again, he can fight back, but he will definitely not be able to fight for a long time. If it enters full power state, it will be different. Louis recalled the scene in the anime where Son Goku and his sons dueled with Cell, and the consumption was really low. By then, with this state, I will be able to have a good time in other universes. The reward is great, but how can I find Towa? Let's go to the planet Yadrit. Louis couldn't think of a solution for the time being and could only let things take their course. He took the two of them and disappeared into the heaven. Dark Demon World. Dark Forest. Towa, the candidate gods of destruction for the 7th universe has appeared. Go. Yes. The starry sky of universe is very beautiful, and there is a purple planet in the same galaxy as Namek. This planet is Yadrit. Seen from the outside, the planet Yadrit seemed to be covered with purple clouds, extremely beautiful. In the anime, Son Goku escaped here on the Jinya Force's spaceship at the last moment of the Namek explosion. Today, 3 uninvited guests came to the planet Yadrit. Son Goku walked in the town of Yadrit and looked at the surrounding environment. Louis, is this the Yadrit you mentioned? Vegeta frowned slightly. Rumor has it that Yadrit is a very mysterious planet, just like Namek. Yes, there is a secret technique here called instant transmission, which is similar to the one I just brought you here for. Louis said as he walked, both of you can transform into Super Saiyan. When you learn this move, you can go to the Galactic Patrol headquarters and teach your tribe members how to transform. Son Goku and Vegeta nodded. They have experienced the power of Super Saiyan. Once Saiyans are able to transform, the Saiyan clan will be the most powerful race in the universe. Especially Vegeta, as a Saiyan prince, he really hopes to see this day come to his own race. Let's go find the leader here. Soon, Louis brought the two to the center of the town and found Supa, the leader of the planet Yadrit. Inside the room, Supa bowed and said respectfully, meet the candidate gods of destruction. Son Goku and Vegeta were stunned. The leader of planet Yadrit actually knew Louis. Louis glanced at Husu who was standing next to Supa. Husu was the wise man of the planet Yadrit. It must be because of him that Supa knew his identity. Louis ignored all this and went straight to the point. Chief Supa, I wonder if you can let these two learn instant transmission. Son Goku and Vegeta straightened their backs slightly and looked closely at Supa. That's no problem. Supa nodded. Husu next to him tugged at the corner of Supa's clothes, as if giving him a hint. Supa looked at Louis, hesitant to speak. Just tell me whatever you want to say. Since you've helped me, how can I help you? I will definitely help you. Louis noticed Supa's expression and Husu's little movements next to him. Supa said in panic, I dare not order the candidate gods of destruction, but this matter is related to the candidate gods of destruction. Does it have anything to do with me? Louis frowned and glanced at Son Goku. If there was any connection, it must be related to this kid. After all, in the anime, it was he who escaped here and learned instant transmission. Mr. Candidate Gods of Destruction, I am the wise man of the planet Yadrit. Husu finally spoke. Originally, I predicted that a great disaster would happen on my planet Yadrit, and in the end a blonde warrior would descend from the sky to save our planet Yadrit. Hearing this, Louis couldn't help but be a little surprised. The wise man of Yadrit was as powerful as the great elder of Namek. If history had not changed, the blonde warrior Husu was talking about would have been Son Goku. Husu continued, his tone heavy, just over 2 months ago, this prophecy suddenly changed. The catastrophe disappeared, and the blonde warrior also disappeared. Isn't it great that your disaster is gone? Vegeta suddenly interrupted. Son Goku nodded. Chief Supa said, no, the great disaster that the wise man predicted at the beginning has disappeared, but the wise man has predicted a more terrible disaster. The atmosphere in the room became tense. Louis thought, so this new catastrophe has something to do with me. Yes, if we don't handle it well, not only will our planet Yadrit be in danger, but the entire northern galaxy will suffer. Husol looked at Louis and said solemnly, Mr. Candidate Gods of Destruction, I predicted that this new catastrophe will come from the dark demon world. No one dared to order the alternate gods of destruction to do anything, but this disaster was too horrific. It just so happens that the new disaster is related to Louis. Husol and Supa dared to risk being destroyed and ask Louis for help. Dark Demon Realm. Louis' pupils shrank sharply. Soon he remembered the system's sign-in task, which asked him to sign in front of Tova. With his understanding of the system, it seemed that every sign-in could be completed just right. Yes. Definitely Tova. She is coming to the 7th universe to cause trouble. Louis stood up from his chair, his face grim. Louis, what's wrong? Vegeta was startled by Louis' expression. Is this dark demon world very powerful? Son Goku asked hurriedly. Louis is the candidate for gods of destruction. It must be something serious to make him so panicked. Supa said weakly, alternate gods of destruction, this disaster. Louis shook his head, then pointed at Son Goku and the other man, just take them to learn instant transmission, leave the dark demon world to me. No wonder Supa and Husol would rather risk being destroyed than ask him for help. Not to mention it has anything to do with him, even if it has nothing to do with him, if someone from the dark world appears in the universe, he has to take action. After all, Xeno Universe and Dark Demon Realm are opposing forces. Yes. Finally, Louis left Yadrit. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.